Hey everybody, ROTL UK, Matt and Ant here for you. We are going to get started on the audio pod shortly, but hope you're all well. Any questions, you guys know what to do. Thank you for all of the lovely messages in the chat to start up the show. Much appreciated, including Carlton and Ken and Mile Marker, especially in Bobo Lands just in the chat now, and Lions Gangster to kick us all off. Appreciate you all being here very, very much. Brent coming in as well with a huge one. And you've got a new image there, Brent. As far as I've seen, I haven't seen that before. The Brits with grit. I don't think I've earned the title yet at all, and that can't be me.
No, it's everybody. We are all a group. We are. That there are a few of us, but we are one.
Yes, questions. You guys know what to do. Yeah, Kenza, the hard work and effort you guys put in shows up to
Oh
us. You're way
shit!
more informed. Ooh. You're way more informed than so many. Go Lions, USA and UK. Hell yeah, man. And Carlton just said, has everyone heard Dan's latest press conference? I did, but on 1.7 speed so I could get it in just before we went live. So I didn't listen to it too closely. But I am enjoying the idea of a Dan Campbell lookalike contest. I would like to enter. Unfortunately, I'm not tall enough, beefcakey enough. The beard game is lacking. But apart from that, perfect.
Yeah, you're screwed in the beard competition. I've got you beat there.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe not in the hair department though. He's got a little bit more of that, more there. So,
Now that's just rude.
well,
Like,
hey, my beard game's lacking, but you know, I could.
yeah, but baldness is a disease. Lacking a beard is not.
Maybe you need to wear just a cap, and you'd be sorted.
Maybe I need to turn my head upside down. Yeah, not heard that one before a
I
million
don't.
times. Yeah,
But if you turn your head upside down, your beard game would be lacking.
yeah. I'd rather have the beard. I'd rather have the beard than the hair.
Oh man. Just to say this now, and I know that I say this before a lot of shows. I am intending for this to be slightly shorter than normal. I am presenting in public for the first time tomorrow, so I would like a good night's sleep. My company, off the back of me developing some links with our local university, is launching a paid internship for a postgrad student, and we've got to present to the postgrads about what the opportunity entails. And I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. So, great job.
Just pretend you're doing a podcast. That's what I do now.
Yeah.
Just pretend you're doing a podcast and you're good.
Yeah, but what happens when I go up to all of the postgrads in my suit, looking like a proper accountant, going, "Hey guys, welcome to the Raw the Lions UK podcast," and they go, "The fuck is happening?"
No, it'd be more disturbing if you go up and go, "Give me your kneecaps now."
Yeah, I want a kneecap sandwich. Nom nom nom.
Just gotta do the best of Dan. You know, you're talking about the company. Just we are freaking starving, man. Get the hyenas out the way.
We're gonna drag you into the deep water because that's where we live. That's our domain.
I just need you guys to trust me.
I just want the best for you guys.
You're all I ever. You're all I ever think about, man. All I ever think about. That's what you should say. There you go. You just make a speech of Dan Campbell quotes. It
Oh, that'd
probably
be
would.
so good. And then in the end, you just break into the Brad Holmes. So you fire everyone up, and then you just go, "What?"
You just run into an elevator, just going, yeah. Need to record this. This feels like it needs to be recorded.
Oh no! I love it so much. Oh, I'll see if I can slip a Dan Campbell quote in there. I'll have to tactically think about which one, but I'll try and slip in something. Giggity.
If you ever need me, I'll be right on your front porch.
Oh no. Yeah. What else? What other quotes could you have? What's the most appropriate?
Is there an appropriate Dan quote? I don't think there is.
Um.
We'll do
Yeah.
your.
Go on. Oh, Stone, come on. You got to let me in the joke now.
We'll do your accounts in the office. We'll do your accounts on a landfill. Anywhere you want, we will do your accounts.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh man. Marco said, I always see it as a role you'll be playing the professional expert. Yeah. I mean, that is a role I pretend to play all the time. That's literally my job. I have proper imposter syndrome. I still can't believe they pay me for this shit. If I'm honest. I feel like I'm making it up as I go along, which is just great. Candyman said, wear a diaper.
No, wear a motorcycle helmet. You've got to wear the helmet. Just walk in wearing the helmet.
Anticlair's martial law on the channel. He needs to do a shorter college stream too. No, more college. We need more college stuff. If you're intending on that being live, by the way, I need to get to the supermarket. So if you can just bear with for when I get back, which...
All I would say, I would love it to be shorter. I'd love to do a couple a week, but I only get Rye one day a week because Rye has lots of other commitments and that, so we have to shove it all into one show. Ideally, I would like to do a review and a preview and keep it shorter, but you know, we only get to talk about it once a week, and I don't want to leave him out of any of it.
Oh man, yeah,
that's where we're at with that. Like, it's too much. It just becomes too many shows. I have to do 2 shows for that, 2-3 shows for this, dance, all that sort of stuff. So maybe in future, but for now, we only get one show a week to talk about it all, and we try and fit it in. But we will. I will listen. I will listen.
I do like the idea of Brent saying I should do the one ass cheek speech. That
wearing a motorbike helmet.
Oh yes.
Doesn't matter if you got 1 ass or 2 toes. I will do your taxes.
Bob O'Lan just said, just imagine they're all sitting there listening while in their underwear. That could be dangerous for some post-grad age people. Just saying. Anyway. Anyway.
Oh, you got to do that. You got to walk in with the jeans and go, see this? This is all the money you're letting slip out of your system. We need to get that money back in your pockets again. When he did the dust thing, you've got to get the rest of the dust out of your trousers, like all that bad stuff out your trousers. Metaphor.
Carlton says, quote, I told them, honestly, day one, I said, look, I'm not carrying the toilet paper around. I'm not going to wipe your butt. You're going to wipe your own butt. You handle it, and I'll treat you like men until you prove otherwise. I love this. This is, again, when we get chatting like this is the better part of the show. We start recording and it all goes to pot.
I'll just walk in singing Billie Jean. I know it's a Hutch thing, but it's still a Lions thing.
What other initiation songs were there? There were some pretty poor ones.
Oh no, Jameer Gibbs did Mario, which I love him forever for because I'd completely forgotten that song existed, and now I love it. Jameer Gibbs was great.
Which Mario song?
Let Me Love You. It's one of the best songs ever. That is.
I was really hoping he was going to do the Peach song, Wario Peach.
No, we didn't have this thing back then when he was a rookie. We didn't have the whole cartoon bits.
Peach, you're so cool. And with my star, we'll rule it all.
Never remember the voice being that deep. That seems...
Jack Black's got a deep voice when he wants to.
Really?
Yeah.
He literally... literally plays the 16-year-old schoolgirl in Jumanji because his voice just fits so well.
Yeah, but he's got range.
It's his. I know he does. Jack Black is a national treasure and needs to be protected at all costs.
I struggle with him generally as an actor. Sometimes he's like, I have to be in the mood for Jack Black because sometimes the like, it's like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is one of my favorite actors ever, but if I'm not in the mood for him, it really fucks me off. But I think that comes with
everybody,
I guess. But
it's like I love Nicolas Cage, you know, one of those guys. But I've got to be in the right mood for him.
I love Nick Cage, and he lives down here too. So he lives in Glastonbury, yeah, near Glastonbury.
Oh, cool.
Because he believes in all the power of the Leylands. So there's a ley line going all the way through Glastonbury. So he loves that shit.
See, but you've got to be in the mood. I think you've got to be in the mood for everybody. So,
Oh, I wish I could do a good Nick Cage impression. He's such a particular person. It's like Jack Nicholson or someone like that. They're just so. Or who's the really weird actor who has a very strange cadence? The one that everyone does. I'm not gonna try and do the accent because my God.
oh, you've just reminded me of The Rock now. He's with Sean Connery, and that Sean Connery has some great lines in that. Okay, it's a great film. Like, it's easy to hate on him, but his indie collection is absolutely phenomenal. When he's not playing an over the top complete idiot in like his mainstream films, he's a very, very good actor.
Christopher Walken, thank you very much, everybody. From that explanation, I'm amazed you got it. But
Christopher Walken,
yeah,
greatest thing ever, him doing the Fatboy Slim video. Do you remember
that
Weapon of Choice?
Well, yes, yeah. But potentially up there as well is the introduction of the Foo Fighters on SNL.
that as well, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Foo Fighters.
Yeah. But no, Christopher Walken's a legend.
Yes, he is.
He's an underappreciated legend.
Absolutely, but everyone loves him.
Oh yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Candyman said, "Do you realise what you're doing? What you're capable of?" There's lots of great comments in here. This is just better than the show.
Oh.
We should just chat and not about football. We got 20 people watching this shit. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's just watching us randomly talk about Nick Cage and Christopher Walken and stuff like that.
Gone in 60 Seconds is my guilty pleasure top 3 film ever, basically. I absolutely love that film, and I know watching it that it's shit. Like, I know it's shit, but it's good.
It's not. If it's not, though, if you enjoy it, it's not. It's great. So
it's great.
You've got to just be free and admit these things. Like,
yeah. But I mean, like, young Angelina Jolie with blonde dreadlocks. It's like, oh, this is amazing.
Like don't bow to popular culture knows nothing. Like, don't bow to the masses.
Well, you say popular culture, but I have called from being in the cinema, coming out of the film. I've called the 2 best pictures in recent years. I watched The Shape of Water, which I know a lot of people didn't like, but I came out of that absolutely loving it, and I said I think the critics will love that film. I think that's an excellent film. And then when I walked out of Everything Everywhere All at Once, not only did I say that's going to win Best Picture, I said this is the best film I have seen ever, bar none. Absolutely the best film I've ever seen. Like, it's the most incredible big spectrum, just so, what's the word? Ballsy. Like, they tried to do everything, and they did it. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Oh. SW Line said The Mask and Liar Liar are my favourite Jim Carrey films. The Mask is excellent.
Cable Guy. I absolutely adore Cable Guy in that. That's the cult Jim Carrey one for me. Cable Guy takes him to the oh god, they go to the old festival jousting thing there whilst Star Trek music's playing. It's just the weirdest thing. He's this really creepy. He just wants a best friend, man. He just wants a best friend, and he's crazy in it, but he's so great as well.
Ken Stouder said, "I miss Robin Williams the most of all the actors we've lost." I completely agree. He was exceptional. Candyman says his relationship with Eleanor makes that movie in Eleanor in Gone in 60 Seconds. Hell yeah. Danny Mac loves Cable Guy. Bob O'Lan says Walken didn't give an F in that movie. Jody says, "Did I miss the podcast?" No, Jody, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Just Green Bay Packers. Who cares about them? They're busy running their mouths about us. So we're just going to focus on stuff more interesting than them. Films.
Hello to
You know,
Attila
watching.
Harzi, not a name I have recognised in the past. So welcome. I'm sure you're a previous listener, otherwise you probably wouldn't have been here. But yes, appreciate you very much for being here.
Yeah.
PK Junior, did you realise Austin Powers is over 25 years old? I mean, I don't think it's
Right.
dated for.
Every film we know is getting over 25 years old now. We're approaching like 30 years for Independence Day soon. Like, and that's
Mm,
gonna upset me. Like, everything's becoming 25, 30 years ago, and it's terrifying to me. Like,
yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, but Austin Powers has dated very badly. I think it's one of those that I think.
I still love it.
Oh, I still love it too. I mean, there's some joy in life when watching peak Liz Hurley and peak Heather Graham.
Mm.
Sure, they're fantastic. And the thing is, if you watch The Spy Who Shagged Me after watching Boogie Nights, it's especially weird. Very confusing.
Nothing is ever too weird. I've seen Fear and Loathing. No film is ever weird compared to that, ever.
Mm. Jody said, "Lol, okay, I love the relaxed conversation, but I thought maybe I missed it. Thanks for letting me go." For some reason, this is a me and Ant thing where we're just on a show together, just the two of us. We seem to just chat very comfortably for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can just chat about all sorts of weird films. What's the weirdest film you've ever seen? Like weirdest.
Oh, um, maybe it's a very straight line answer, but I feel like Napoleon Dynamite when it came out was
Oh wow.
exceptionally weird
Mm.
because it was a film that had no point. It was quite tragic. I was the biggest nerd geek introverted guy in there, so I related to the character very much. Dino, come eat some meat.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think anything will ever beat Mandy for me. That was Nick Cage's weirdest and most.
okay.
If you'd ever seen it,
No.
you need to be in a very specific mood, but find it. The
Okay.
weirdest thing you will ever see in your life, but strangely, I really love it.
There's lots of suggestions. Brad Holmes Aura says wasn't expecting a Boogie Nights reference today. It's a great film, and also,
I've not seen that in forever either. I could probably do with a rewatch of that. That's
mm,
probably not aged well, but would probably still be nostalgia tickling.
well, I mean, a film about the dark side of porn probably doesn't age badly, to be honest, because the whole point
Kind
is
of,
that it's a bit dark, like,
kind of, yeah.
and it's Mark Wahlberg in the lead, like,
And it has the right catchy soundtrack to it as well.
and Burt Reynolds doing his best creepy man impression, which works because, um,
Oh God, we got a Vanilla Sky reference. Like that is something I didn't think I'd see today. That movie got universally panned here, didn't it? It's one of those that if you wanted to mock something, you'd call it Vanilla Sky. I've never actually watched it to be able to. I can't do that, but I just remember it. It became a meme of sorts over here to say it's Vanilla Sky.
trying to think if I've seen anything which kind of goes on like the most surreal films list, but I don't think so. When some of these lists like Inception is a surreal film, I'm like, no, I don't think so.
It
2001 is
depends. It depends if you get them. It's like
yeah,
for me, Interstellar is one of the greatest films of all time, but you've really got to get it.
and
But
I know that I'd love it, but I haven't watched it, and it
it's
really
it's
frustrates
it's
me.
it's one of the greatest films ever. But like I watched it with my dad, and my dad was asking me questions every 2 seconds. I'm thankful because I have a friend who's got a doctorate in astrophysics, so I kind of knew a bit beforehand. But
Right.
it's immense. It's like Inception. If you get it, it's amazing. If you don't, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, Inception's up there as a top five film for me as well. I just when he sees his kids and he doesn't care whether the spinning top is spinning anymore or not, that just breaks my heart every time.
Brad Holmes or nails it. David Lynch. If it's a David Lynch film, it's weird. That is actually very true.
I don't think there's anything. A Clockwork Orange. That's fucking weird.
That has dated.
Yes, it
Um,
has, but I can take it for what it was at the time. It was when it was banned at the time when it was released.
Yeah. Oh
So,
god, yeah. A
so
lot
it's
of
not
stuff was.
yeah. It's not like they didn't think it wasn't wrong.
Yeah, because David Lynch was original Dune. They have not aged well. It's good they've bought new Dunes out now.
I
It's
haven't
hard to
seen
watch
that
the old.
either.
It's hard to watch the old Dune. It's still fun, but it
Oh,
needed updating.
PK Juniors just says, speaking of good movies that are hard to get, The Prestige. Love The Prestige.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. That's a good
Absolutely
shout.
brilliant movie.
Mm.
Yeah, all right. Oh, Candyman just said The Wall by Pink Floyd. That was weird. The Wall by Pink Floyd is one of the best albums ever made. Absolutely love that album. And I saw the Aussie Pink Floyd in concert about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. It was exceptional.
Nice.
Although they did have an inflatable headmaster, which was a bit weird. It was about 50 foot tall. And then after that, they had an inflatable kangaroo just bouncing around on the top of the stage, flapping about. And that was like 70 foot tall. It was weird shit. But, you know, for like, hey, teacher, leave those kids alone, like a demon headmaster bouncing around in the background is fucking great. So it all works. It was really awesome.
Headmaster. What a kid show that was.
Yeah,
I remember
right.
watching that.
Oh, so good.
The
book scared the shit out of me.
There's so many things to do. You're right, Brad Holmes were at 10. It was ass, and I was really looking forward to that, but it is terrible.
I haven't seen Oppenheimer, unfortunately.
We got a lot of the oh, we got Interstellar 5555. That's Daft Punk's music. That is genius. Have you watched it?
Mm-mm.
You know Daft Punk's album One More Time?
Yeah.
They actually did a mini film to it that details the band and how they're kidnapped from their alien planet and brought to Earth and they're rescued, and I can't believe you never watched that.
No.
It's very rare something like that's done, actually.
Mm.
It's really good. It makes it really sad. It gives the songs a lot of meaning when they add characters to it. Like really sad.
Just speaking about films that aren't really films or not true films, I quite like watching just the cutscenes from Metal Gear Solid, because that's like a really long fucking time. But the story's incredible. And when you get to like Metal Gear Solid 4, the graphics are so good you wouldn't believe it isn't a film anyway.
Yeah. But
album name is Discovery, first track is One More Time, What Dreams May Comes.
I'm just seeing lots of good old films. I wonder if the Yanks know about Trainspotting and stuff like that. Like,
Again, another film I haven't seen.
What? All right, with Americans here, if there's to the Americans listening, what are your favorite British films? Do you watch any British films? Like, there's so much good stuff from here.
Trainspotting is very cult. It's
the
massive.
original Wicker Man, not the Nick Cage abomination. That's the one thing that I will forever hold against him, is remaking that film. But the Wicker Man is great. Trainspotting is great.
Carlton Wood just said Memento as well, by the way, which is a cracking film.
I've seen that in forever.
PK Junior says F Trainspotting. That messed me up. So it's about heroin, right?
Didn't say it wasn't good though. It is a great film.
It is about heroin, though, right?
I mean, not all the be all. There's an element of drugs in there and stuff like that.
Contrapass said Lock, Stock, great film. Anything with Vinnie Jones in it is fucking class.
Yeah, Vinnie Jones he's like our Sylvester Stallone. He can't act to save his life, but we just love him.
Ken Stouder just said Wallace and Gromit. There's a new one coming this Christmas. Can't wait. They're from Bristol, which is my hometown at the moment.
The were rabbits. That's the best one. The one with the were rabbits.
I don't know. I like the wrong trousers. I'm old.
The were rabbits is where it's at.
Right. We've almost chatted for half an hour here. Shall we get on with this? Because I said I wanted it to be a short show, and I have. Children of Men.
Yeah. What a shout that is!
Yeah,
that seems like a good one to move on to the show. But I love that's what's his face, isn't it? Clive, or what they call him?
Clive. Oh shit! Yes, Children of Men, and
Clive
it's.
Owen. Clive Owen. I think Michael Caine's in it as well. Beloved British treasure that he is.
I was going to say Clive Owen, but I held myself back from saying his
No,
name.
it is
Why?
Clive. It is Clive Owen.
Yeah, it is Clive Owen. Yes,
Yeah.
and Julianne Moore, Michael Caine.
That's a fantastic film though. I've watched that many a time.
Mm. Oh, okay, right.
Shall we talk about the team up north? Not that
I
one.
I
The other
think.
one. The team in Cheeseland.
All right. Contrabastan coming in the clutch with Shaun of the Dead. Let's fucking go. All right.
Oh, the Cornetto trilogy. Yeah. The thing is, my brother loves that so much. He must have watched that about a billion times. He can recite. He went to a recent rescreening of it, and he
Mm.
literally recited the whole damn thing line for line before it happened. So it's what do they call it? Um, you lose your interest. You lose the love of it because you see it so much. Like Top Gun. I watched Top Gun a billion times, and then I lost the luster for it. You know, they're making a third one, by the way.
Oh, for
Second
goodness
one is
sake. I
amazing.
haven't watched
My
Maverick.
dad, my dad practically forced me to watch it because I hate the original that much because I've seen it so many times, and just it's kind of ruined it for me. The second one's immense.
Is the
Uh,
soundtrack as good? Because the soundtrack to Top Gun is what makes it for me.
the story's really good. Like for something like that can be sometimes really basic story wise, it's actually really good. But they're doing a third one, so
Cottonwood just mentioned Spaced as part of the predecessor to all of the Simon Pegg films and Nick Frost
mm,
films. They before that, Spaced is maybe the one of the best TV series that doesn't get the acclaim that it should. I would describe it as a cult TV series for sure. It's
niche.
niche, definitely. Oh, amazing! Right, I'm calling it, guys. This has been a great chat, but maybe we should do
Yeah.
Raw the films another time. Anyway, okay, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 312, Reading Your Keys. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, man?
I'm not doing bad, thank you. All good. Hope you are as well.
You didn't die of cringe with the name.
I
I'm.
don't get it, so I can't hate which
You
I don't
you don't
get.
call him Key, you call him Quay, but
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh,
ah,
that is so bad.
got him.
Is this part of the skit is to break me eventually? You're going to come up with one that bad that I'm physically going to break.
My aim is that by the time we actually do the Roar of the Lions combine, that you'll just be a mentally broken man, and then I'll just win every discipline.
Okay, well, I will do my best to stand up against that.
Love that. All right, we are here doing the Green Bay preview. This is the second time this season we're facing Green Bay, looking to do the season sweep on them and effectively end their chances of winning the division. We're going to preview that, but first a bit of preamble. Please do join our Discord channel. The link is in the live chat right now. It'd be great to see you there, chatting Lions all week long. And then, of course, we're actually not that far away from January and February and then into the draft cycle. If you want to know all of the great stuff that the guys have been doing on college and then all the way through to the draft, it's all going to be there. So do come and join us for that. And now the college football podcast is going to be tomorrow. Last game of the regular season wrapped up last weekend with games kind of all the way through the week. And, going into the conference championship games now, some teams have ruled themselves out of contention for their conference titles. Some teams might have actually locked up their playoff spot because they're not in the conference championship anymore. It was an interesting weekend of college football.
It's going to be so bad next week. Like, it's meant to be good having more teams in there, but now the fact is some teams who don't deserve to be in there are going to get in there. But yeah, it's fun. There was a lot of good football this weekend, and now me and Rye are going to have somewhat of a grudge match because his Arizona State Sun Devils are taking on my Becticles in the Big 12 title game. So there's a lot on stake for us there, but it's going to be fun. There's some cracking games coming on, and we got a couple of our predictions right this year, so I'm not doing all right. But oh yeah, there's tons going on. This is a point now where everyone's getting fired, everyone's going in the portal, everyone's declaring for the draft. It's all higgledy piggledy and everywhere at the minute. So yeah, there's going to be plenty to go through tomorrow.
Yeah, and then of course after that we'll be going into bowl season and the college football playoffs. So do go and join the guys for the show
And
tomorrow.
and for the third year in the row, I predicted a Michigan win. So you can thank me, Michigan. In fact, no, it's four in a row. I've got them all right since they started winning this. So
It's
sit
absolutely
nicely with me.
hilarious that you have. I would say you're a realist about Michigan, and you've somehow called them beating an Ohio State team that, apart from maybe last season, Michigan might have been underdogs in 3 out of the 4 that you've called, and you've called them all correctly for Michigan, which is
Yeah,
funny shit. If Ryan Day continues in his job, Ohio State are just weak.
he shouldn't. He should be fired. He
Yeah,
should be fired.
they're
He's got
weak.
one literal job. He's lost to the only two good teams he's played this year. He's Dallas. They're the Dallas Cowboys of the of college football, regular season warriors. But when it comes to it, they just don't have any skin behind them. So, but it was funny as I'm so glad that happened. So thank you, Michigan. I appreciate it.
Ohio State are the skim milk of Big Ten teams. They look like milk. They may smell like milk. They don't taste like it. Unfortunately, they're weak as shit. Right. please do like this episode, top of the podcast. You guys know what to do. And go support Lions Nation Unite in their endeavours. Eternal Wars projects bring the best of Lions content creators together. We're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized. There's a tip jar in the YouTube description. If you're enjoying what you're listening to, we would love for you to show your support in that way. Right. News, and Maurice Alexander's back to the practice squad, and I'm sure you put that in the chat, so thank you for that. But going back to yesterday, because you weren't on the show, just to get your thoughts on the 4 players that we actually brought in the past week or so. One linebacker in Quan Alexander, 2 defensive linemen in Jonah Williams and Miles Adams, and then to the practice squad goes safety, but we believe he's going to be a linebacker for us, Jamal Adams. And we spoke about Jamal Adams in this offseason and in the previous offseason as someone who could, be a potential that was falling out of favour at Seattle, then obviously didn't get re-upped or got cut. And Quan Alexander's been a kind of subject for a while as someone who has shown good play in the past. What are your thoughts on all of the roster moves recently? And then we've got Jahmyr Gibbs posting the protection calls, which I want to get to as well. But let's stick with the roster moves first.
I think they're good. The defense needs experience right now. We're shy of that many starters at this moment in time. That you just need some guys who've been there, who've done that, who've got a level head about them, who can come in just for 2-3 games, provide us with some good relief, some good depth until we start getting some of our guys back. I mean, I know we still can technically feel mostly a side made out of guys who could start, but a lot of them are young. A lot of them first, second, third year guys. You just need those guys who've kind of been there. Jamal Adams has been there and done that. He's been all over. He's been paid very well in this league, but I think he's still got a point to prove. Has Jamal Adams never won a Super Bowl before? I don't believe he has in his career.
No, he's only been with the Jets and
Quan
Seahawks, so no.
Quan Alexander hasn't. So you're getting what I look for in vets. When vets win Super Bowl, I think vets who've won Super Bowls for us are worse than vets who haven't. Because you still have that drive and determination to go win one. We'll go back to this whole thing. Once you've won 1 or 2, like when we had all these expatriates come in who've been there, done that, didn't really care anymore. It was not good for this team, but you've got these guys who know they're coming to a contender, who know that potentially with some of the severity of the injuries, if they can get themselves into the first team, they ain't coming out. They will take a straight run to a Super Bowl and potentially be able to get themselves a ring. And this is what the better teams do. They're able to entice these kind of guys from wherever they're at and bring them in and make a success of them. Quan Alexander has played a lot of football. Pretty sure we've called for, or maybe me, I don't know. We've called for him at some point to come in the last couple of years here. Jamal Adams, you would not turn up that experience in the blink of an eye. You want that on your team. And as far as the interior DL go, yeah, they're not played a great deal, but we need bodies, we need depth. We've got a lot of injuries there. Broderick's only just come back from his injury. We need to keep our main guys healthy. That's the point of that. So if we can just get some good rotational reps out of these guys, we don't need them to be world beaters. We just need them to stand up and hold their own 15, 20 snaps a game, whatever. That's all we need. So it's good. Brad's gone after the main areas we needed. We needed linebackers. We needed D linemen. Needed another guy in the secondary because, I mean, we're struggling at corner. And if Jamal Adams can come in, make the team, and then take one of them safety spots, you can move Branch over into the nickel, or you can just ease up the workload on these guys here. So I really like the signings that have been made. They're experienced and they should be ready to go sooner rather than later. Because I know you've got to learn a new team system and all, but you could send Jamal Adams out there after one day and he'd go out and do a pretty good job for you. So yeah, I like what Brad's done. He's very proactive. He's understanding, and it's hopefully these guys come in, stand up whilst we get our injured back, because hopefully soon we should start seeing them trickle back in.
And then Jameer Gibbs had a mishap, or did he? I know that I don't know whether it's a bit that you're kind of playing into about like it was on purpose and it's like a Galaxy World type thing. But do you really believe all of that, or do you think it's something that maybe it's a mistake that they're now leaning into?
Oh no, I posted the Mark Henry salmon jacket for a reason. It's one of the greatest fake outs of all time, one of the biggest works there ever was in wrestling. Probably only surpassed by what happened last night for anyone who watched. We got one just as good, but for me, that I can't think of an example ever of a player posting signs online to that degree. Like it's just never happened, even in this modern day of the NFL. It's never happened. You've never seen someone give away the play sheet like that. If your play calls were the same all the time, you would be deciphered in a week because teams would hire somebody to figure out what everything means. For me, I think they're leaning into it. I think there'll be a load of this, out of service codes which are no longer admissible for us. And, Dan saying he's pissed off all this. It strikes me as it's a work. I feel because Jameer wouldn't be that stupid. Like, if you're looking at a photo and you're gonna see this play calls on there, like I say, it just doesn't happen in this league. You never see it from anyone anyway. You don't see the leaking of sensitive information like that. So, just my own personal opinion, but the way it's been gone on about, just how I've looked at it and how I've seen it, I think it's a work. And like, the Packers are like, oh, we've shown it to Matt LaFleur and everything. Well, show it to him, see what he does. But they don't seem unduly concerned about it, and they've not punished him. Which, if this was a real leak, like a day before a game, maybe I'd buy into. But nah, I think we're all marks here getting played.
All right, let's get on with the preview. Packers are coming to Ford Field for Thursday night football. Kickoff is 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 1:15 in the morning UK time. I will be live along with Ash doing the play-by-play. And are you going to be doing your tweet stream as well?
Oh, of course, I'm always there.
And it really is, in terms of ending the Packers season, almost for all of the marbles. A win for the Lions puts them 3 games ahead with 4 to play, and the Lions will hold the tiebreaker over the Packers, which means the Packers would need to win out and the Lions to lose out in order to give the Packers the division win, of course, assuming that the Minnesota Vikings don't have something to say about that too. So, for the Packers, this is an absolutely must-win game if they harbour any hopes of winning the division. It would mean that they're 1 game back and they've tied the series. So it's an absolutely massive game, and it can't be understated. They come into this 9-3, as you can see on the graphic. Their expected wins per Pro Football Reference is 7.9. So they are 1.1 games above expectation, meaning that they've been pretty lucky so far this season. They have gone through this season with results like this in order: losses at Philadelphia, wins versus Indianapolis and at Tennessee, a loss to the Vikings in Minnesota, wins at the Rams versus Arizona versus Houston at Jacksonville, and then a loss against us in week 9 before their bye, and then wins 3 straight at Chicago Bears versus the San Francisco 49ers, and then last week versus the Miami Dolphins on Thanksgiving. For the betting for this game, Green Bay 31-20, that's plus 155. Detroit 37-20 on, that's minus 185. That translates to a 3.5 point spread in favour of the Lions. The over-under is 51.5. I'll go into injury reports, depth charts, IR in just a second, but And I think we talked about this in the Week 9 preview. I look at what the Packers have done so far this season, and they've beaten sides that they should have done, and they've lost to sides that they should have done. I don't think there's anything remarkable about this Packers side. What win of theirs is a quality win? What loss of theirs is a quality loss? Like, all of the losses are quality losses, and all of the wins are kind of whatever.
You just spoiled my question. I was about to ask you what's the best win they've got in there. Because, I mean, you look, they've beaten Miami, but they've beaten them in Wisconsin. Miami are notorious for playing badly in the cold, and they're not that great a team either. When they beat the Rams were beaten up to a pulp. That was after they played us, and they had that horrific injury list at the start of the year. Yeah, that was when Arizona were hot, and Houston, but they're not great teams this year. Like, Houston's had their little bit of a bump. The Cardinals look all right, but there's no signature win in there. Like I say, you've beaten up on a lot of poor teams. And, like San Francisco are beaten up. They're not the force they have been. And they've beaten them at home as well. Again, getting San Francisco over here and, into your territory, as it were. I don't know. They're just a bit of a team this year. I don't know whether they're actually that good or whether they're bad. It's kind of they're in the middle somewhere. I feel they're not insignificant, but not. I don't know.
I think if you look at their results, Philly have obviously turned it on down the stretch, and they're obviously doing very well now in the NFC. Just a game back from us. When they came into the season, expectations were low, and they didn't start hot really, but the Packers dropped to the first game in Philadelphia. Going to Philadelphia is not easy, but Philly started off rough, and then they've reeled off these games in a row. So, they were kind of there for the taking at the time. They ended up losing to the Vikings at home in Week 4. That's a game you'd like back against the Vikings team. Yes, they were firing on all cylinders at the time, but the Vikings are bigger frauds than the Packers are. Like, they'd like that game back. Their best win, I think, is the Miami game this weekend just gone. And not really because of how they played. We'll get on to that. I don't actually think they were that good. But it was a Miami team coming in hot. They'd reeled off a couple of games. Tua's in the form of his life right now. Like, people were talking about Miami as like being a legitimate wildcard threat, having been like 4 games behind 500, because they were on a bit of a roll. I mean, the game before this, me and Ash were rolling on the floor laughing because you said you were going to bench Jalen Waddle and he was going to have a monster game. And he went off and had a monster game. It was hilariously funny. But the only reason that was possible was because Tua was delivering the ball really, really well. You have a look at Jonnu Smith. He looks like the best tight end in the league right now. Like, Miami are firing, and I know they're not good away from home, and I know they're not good in the cold. But at least it was a team in form down the stretch who needed the win.
See, the barometer is they've played us, and we absolutely whooped them at home. I know we had a slow first quarter against them, but we beat them up for the entire middle half of the game, and, we kind of cantered. Say cantered, it was, I don't recall many worries at the end of that one, really, and, we put them away, and I don't even think we played our best game, really, that day either, so, when you can go into another team's house and dominate them the way you did, I know we've done it in the past and we lost at home last year, but they didn't look like they could handle us in that first game, and we were very good, and we've made a point of removing historical mistakes this year. We're playing very well. I know we've got a lot of injuries, but that's not really been stopping us. So they're not as good a team as we are. I think that would be the accurate statement to say they're good, but they're not that good.
The only thing I would potentially say is potentially they're getting healthier and we are not. So these aren't the same teams that played in Week 9.
No, they're not. But at the same time, outside of that Bears game, we've been blowing teams out. And I would say even the Bears one just felt like that was a short week. That really felt, especially in the second half, like fatigue caught up a little bit. Because we have also... Our bye is a long time ago now. We've been playing, for the best part of 2 months without a break. And, the injuries, as I say, are piling up. We've got a lot of guys having to take more reps than usual. We've got so many injured. It just kind of felt like, a short week was the worst thing possible. And yet we still got the win in that circumstance. So at least we're going to have had a full week of rest this time to be able to get it ready. And we're at home as well, which always helps, and they've had, I know they played on the same day, but they're kind of in the same boat.
Mm.
They've got not injuries, but they've got more guys on IR. They are missing some the key parts there as well. So, I would just never rule our team out against anybody as long as we've got the starters in there. We've got some good depth coming in now. I think we'll be all right as long as we avoid too many more.
To go into the injury report, the Lions haven't posted theirs from yesterday, although the media had posted theirs. For today, Dave Paquette has come out and said that Taylor Decker appears unlikely to play against the Packers. DJ Reed is day-to-day with a shoulder injury, and Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike missed another practice today, making it 2 back-to-back. It looks unlikely that Pascal or Levi will unfortunately be able to go. The Packers, however, have a huge injury list, so I don't have any update for Tuesday's injury report at the moment, but on Wednesday, did not practice guard Elton Jenkins, cornerback Corey Ballantyne, and linebacker Edgar Cooper. Cooper missed last week as well. Limited in practice, running back Josh Jacobs, wide receiver Romeo Dobbs with a concussion, tight end John Fitzpatrick, tackle Rasheed Walker, center Josh Myers, defensive end Colby Wooden, linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, and cornerback Jair Alexander. Now, I know that there is some optimism on the Green Bay side. Alexander will be able to go. He's only played 20 snaps in the last 5 weeks, so if they could get him back, it would be pretty big for them. In terms of IR, the big names that the Packers are missing from their roster, especially considering the last time we played them, offensive tackle Jordan Morgan is on the IR list. I think actually he went on to IR just before he played us, but I can't remember quite what the timeline was on that. Tight end Luke Musgrave is also there. Running back AJ Dillon was done for the season before it started, and running back Marshawn Lloyd, draft pick this season, is on season-ending IR as well. Looking at their depth chart, here are their players on offense, and I need to actually hide the lower third. There we go. All right. So, depth chart. On offense, they are starting with Jordan Love at quarterback. Now, the unquestioned starter, we didn't know whether it was going to be Jordan Love or Malik Willis last time. They're probably their best quarterbacks on the bench at the moment, in my opinion, considering the system, considering how they're playing at the moment. Love has flattered to deceive, in my opinion. I saw a tweet yesterday which described him as the worst starting quarterback in the NFL per the metrics for this season. And when you have a look at them,
that wasn't me.
It's hard to argue. Josh Jacobs is the starting running back. He's backed up by Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson. Wide receivers, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, and Jaden Reed, backed up by Dontavian Wicks, Malik Heath, and Bo Melton. Tight end is Tucker Kraft, backed up by Ben Sims and John Fitzpatrick. A front five from left to right. Left tackle Rasheed Walker, left guard Elton Jenkins, centre Josh Myers, right guard Sean Ryan, and right tackle Zach Tom. They're backed up by Kadeem Telfort, Travis Glover, and Jacob Monk, as well as Andre Dillard over at the left tackle position. Let's go into a little bit more of their offensive stats as well, overall stats and then offensive stats. So overall, this team is 18th per PFF, 5th per DVOA, and 5th per EPA. So a massive difference between what DVOA and EPA and PFF think of this team. PFF have a very low opinion of the Packers, whereas the other metrics do not. On offense, PFF have them 13th, whereas EPA has them 8th. And then looking at the overall box score stuff, Jordan Love, 18 for 48 and a touchdown on the ground. And then 194 of 308 for 63% completions, 2,518 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 95.4 passer rating, 58.6 QBR, PFF 74.3. The real success of their season so far is the running back Josh Jacobs. I know that the move to ship out their incumbent to bring him in was universally panned, but the former rushing leader has done very, very well. 221 carries for 987 yards, 4.5 yards a carry and 8 touchdowns, also 27 of 34 for 260 and a touchdown through the air, and a team-leading PFF grade of 90.7. Wide receiver Jaden Reed is the leader there. 13 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown. He's used quite often in the backfield, including last week. He's also 44 for 58 for 693 in the air and 6 touchdowns on a PFF grade of 73.6. And then Tucker Kraft has really come on this season after being not so great the year before. 36 of 49 for 480 and 6 touchdowns. PFF grade of 65.1 has really taken up the mantle of Luke Musgrave going down on IR. Other good grades in there. Zach Tom, tackle, 84.8. And Christian Watson, wide receiver, 71.3. Despite the drops, Watson is grading out very well this year. Other bad grades in there. Well, it's all of the interior offensive line that starts. Josh Myers, 52.1. Sean Ryan, right guard, 57. Left guard, Elton Jenkins, 59.2. Not a good year by any means for the interior of that line. It seems 16th on third down, 22nd on fourth down, and 15th in the red zone. 27 touchdowns on 49 trips. And we've had a $10 super chat. Many thanks to Jody Carithas. Says, go Lions, blue heart emoji, line emoji, beat the Packers, forward down the field. ... Appreciate that very, very much. I'll go into observations on the Dolphins game in just a minute. But when we talked about this team before, a lot of it was really focused on whether Love would play or not and how that's going to affect the game. Love is now the unquestioned starter. They have beaten teams on the ground very, very well with Jacobs. I mean, he's had multiple games where he's kind of racked up 150 yards in a quarter. And that's really opened up stuff in the passing game for them. It feels like if they can't get that going, that they really struggle to get the rest of it going. But when they do, they're almost unstoppable.
They've got a lot of weapons here to work with, and they've got a lot of ways they can beat you. I mean, you look at that Dolphins game. I did watch the Dolphins game, and it was all through the air. They didn't run the ball particularly that well, but I think Jordan Love was like 23 of 27. Like, you can't allow him to be that accurate on the day. And like the run game was the second factor, and he was able to throw it through the air. But then you go back to the week before that, when they played the 49ers, Jacobs had like 4 rushing touchdowns. Like, they've got him going. Like, last time we played them, he was doing all right, but he'd not had anything universally groundbreaking. But they've gotten him going recently. Before that, against the Bears, that was Christian Watson's big day where they were just airmailing shots down at him, and he had his 160 yards on 4 receptions, whatever it is. There's a lot of ways this offense can score on you. You can stop them running the ball, then they can throw it. You can stop them throwing the ball and keep it in check. They're able to run the ball on you if Josh Jacobs gets going. So you've got to match up really well against them. Like, because Tucker Kraft coming up is massive for them. Like, it's opened up the middle of the field for them. It's allowed these guys like Dobbs and Watson on the outside a little bit of relief because they're getting a few more one-on-one looks because they're having to come across for these guys in the slot and him doing so well. So, you've got a plethora of playmakers to look after. They don't have to hit you deep downfield. They can just hit you over the middle, or likewise, if you're looking after the middle well, you're one-on-one, your corners are injured or aren't disciplined, then they're going to hit you deep. We know what Christian Watson has done to us in the past. And if you don't respect the running game and you don't provide enough defense against it, they'll run the ball on you. And, the one thing they always seem to have done well on us in recent years, they have a lot of sustained long drives against us, especially first drive of the game. They usually go for 7 or 8 minutes against us. Like, you've got to stop that. But it's because they're able to mix it up, run the ball well, and then spread it all over. And Love is playing some decent football at this moment in time. He's not turning it over much, especially in these wins. Like, he's looking after the ball well. He's spreading it around, keeping it varied, and it's hard. They're putting up now on 40 points a game, so it's tough. You've got to bring your A game against these guys. Like, our defense was just tremendous when we played at their gaff, and that's because of our run defense. It throttles you so much that you're left in some ridiculously bad situations, and you've got to go out and throw the ball. You've got to be a bit more risky, hence why Jordan Love throws the pick in that one that Kirby wallops up and loses it. But yeah, it's tough. It's going to be a tough encounter for us, especially with the sheer amount of injuries we've got at the moment. Like, the linebackers are going to be tested. We're going to need them to play well. The young corners. Hopefully Davis is healthy. I'll feel a lot better if Davis and Arnold are playing and both healthy. And then the safeties can get back to doing what they're good at. But you've got to respect this offense. You can't just win in one discipline against it. You've got to win it all. Otherwise, they'll score points on you. And they did it to us last year at Ford Field.
They did indeed. Let me go into some observations about last week's game, because I think it's always the best available evidence to how they might play and how things are going in terms of inform. And Love really started with some poor throws to begin with. The first was like a kind of on-the-move jump throw deep, which was way off target. And then the final one of the first series was almost a fumble. We held onto the ball too long and then almost walked into a strip sack. They then recovered a muffed punt, which was just awful to watch. The returner really for Miami got nowhere near it. But in goal-to-go situations, they went run for not a huge amount of impact before getting to the 2-yard line and a play-action throw to Jaden Reed, which was a really good pass from Jordan Love. Good timing. Showed the kind of touch that you might want to expect if you're a Packers fan from Love that he really didn't show in the first series. Interior of the offensive line really started to struggle even early on against Miami, who, lost their best interior pressure guy in Christian Wilkins in the previous offseason. So the fact that the Packers' interior of the line was folding against Miami early I think it was a bad sign for them coming into this game. They took advantage of some really poor gap discipline by Miami in this game. Their linebackers just kind of struggled. They Reed on a jet sweep, which I kind of mentioned earlier. They love using him in the sort of running game. Love struggling for rhythm at times to sustain a drive. Like, he'd have a couple of good throws, but then he'd just have a set of 3 where he couldn't get something going. Watson had a huge OPI where he slammed down the DB to the floor, which was actually called DPI, which I find fairly strange, but hey. I'm not saying Lambo had anything to do with it, but there we go. Lovely play design for a wide receiver screen to Jaden Reed in the red zone for a touchdown. Perfect timing. It was called against a blitz. And actually, the play calling on offense was absolutely fantastic. Most of the time, they were calling plays at the right time into the right things. And whether that's Jordan Love seeing it or whether it's the head coach seeing it, Matt LaFleur, it was impressive, generally. Nice 1-minute drill to end the half. Love looks so much better when he doesn't give himself time. Just throws it because he knows he's up against it for time. He kind of forces himself to be in rhythm just that little bit more. That 1-minute drive to get into field goal range to tack on an extra 3 really kind of put a dagger in the heart of Miami's hopes. Timing throw on the third quarter, early in the third quarter to Watson down the sideline versus man-to-man in cover 2, so only had the corner to deal with, was absolutely brilliant. Really good hands by Watson. And then they called another screen similar to the one that got the touchdown earlier in the game to Reed. This time, though, it's a running back screen to Josh Jacobs for an absolutely massive gain. When they get those plays running, it looks really difficult to stop, almost like when the Lions do it. They get so many they get guys out in front, and they seem to call it at the right time. I can't explain it. Maybe it's just that Miami were being a bit desperate. I'm not sure. Jordan Love on a red zone scrambled throw. He just kind of tossed it up there, and Reed made the most amazing one-handed grab, but was still short of the line to gain on third down, so they hit a field goal from there. Love threw a quick one to Wicks, but the cornerback read it so well that it was almost picked. The cornerback ran the route for him, but didn't quite come down with it. Very next play was then a quick throw in the flat, which Jalen Ramsey almost ended up picking off the near the line of scrimmage. So bad decision-making coming in from Jordan when he's kind of preempted what his read is already going to be and he just throws it. That's where he's really under pressure. Think of, was it Carlton Davis who did that to Jordan Love in the first game where he just read what he was going to do straight away? Was that the game where Dan Campbell said, we need to get an interception out the half? And he was talking about when they got an interception in the very first play. That was Houston. Damn it. So the way that CJ Stroud did that is very similar to what Jordan Love does sometimes, where he just does a 2-step drop and throws a quick out without really looking at what's happened. And I can definitely see that coming big, especially if both Arnold and Davis can go. I don't know whether you saw this one, but Jacobs had the most incredible cut off a check down. So throwing a check down, and he kind of made a really aggressive step to throw Dotson way out of there, and then just had a really kind of nice run after that. There was an egregious block in the back late on Calais Campbell, which wasn't called when the Packers were driving in the red zone. I mean, Campbell's about to hit the guy in the backfield for a loss of like 6 or 7. And he's just blocked in the back. Like, there's no way around this, and it's egregiously bad. Like, it's so obvious and it's not cool. So 2 really bad calls by the rest, missing things.
What? At Lambeau? Never.
Who'd have thought it?
Who'd have thunk it?
When Miami were coming back, the Packers recovered the onside kick, and then their aim was to kill clock. It was an obvious running situation. They ran the ball straight into run blitzes and lost yards. They couldn't do it when the other team knew what was coming. You know, the Lions have been pretty good at that sort of thing, so I think that was an interesting contrast there. Their offensive line's just struggling right now. And then on 3rd and long, Love threw deep to Watson, and there was a really obvious DPI this time that wasn't called, so Watson was being massively interfered with. Didn't impact the game. They were up 3 scores with about 3 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left. It didn't matter, but it was notable that they actually didn't get one of the calls. I want to be as fair as I can. Did you see much of the game? Because they got out to a big lead, mainly off the back of like that muffed punt early, and that kind of set Miami back. They had a couple of good drives, but for me, it wasn't the most impressive of wins, even though it wasn't the best of conditions, perhaps. I mean, but they were joking about the fact that it was December in Lambeau, late November in Lambeau, and it was basically summer. So it wasn't exactly the worst of conditions there either.
No. And as you said, this Dolphins team have been in fair nick recently, so you know you can't dismiss the win as just been, you know, you've taken a team out their climate and you've just beaten them into submission with the cold weather. So I agree. There is a bit of a disorientation about them and the way they are. But again, the one thing we mentioned the first time we played them is just how young this team is. And, you know, how many rookies you've got playing a big part on this offense. Like 3 of the offensive line starters have been drafted 2022 or later. You're playing a 7th round pick at left tackle. You know, your wide receivers were both drafted. Your 2 big ones were drafted in 2022. Kraft was drafted last year. Like, these are a ton of guys seeing a lot of snaps who are rookies. And I think what you've seen, especially since they've played us, you know, you've seen them, they've upped their game. 3 straight wins in a row. I know the one against the Bears was lucky because, well,
yeah,
I say lucky. You know, I say lucky, but, you know, it's good special teams. And Packers have been terrible special teamers for years. Bisaccia seems to have gotten that group better, but you've got to win them, and they did. But then you follow it up with 2 more dominating wins. It looks like everything's beginning to click for them. Like I say, the play calling looks good. These younger players, the more experience they get in this offensive line, like they're helping Jacobs run a lot better, especially against San Fran. He had a day and a half because these young guys, they're getting cohesion, they're getting experience, they're getting reps together, and they're executing better. The receivers, the young ones, are stepping up, making plays. Like all these guys, all these young guys, and just a few vets in there as well. They look like a cohesive unit now. And that's maybe what they were lacking coming into the first game with us. We looked at them and were like, yeah, something just doesn't feel right. Like you said, they've beaten bad teams. Maybe the odd good one, but there's nothing that impressive in there. And then when we go in and beat the brakes off them, yeah, they're a little bits off yet, but they're getting to where they need to be. And they're in form right now, and there's nothing worse than a team in form. They have come off 2 big wins. They're going to see us. They're going to see all our injuries that are piling up, and they're going to see what the Bears did to us. And they'll take a lot of confidence out of that. You know, this offense has to be respected, absolutely. They say we know it. Like a lot of young guys just balling out, playing some good football right now. There are some mistakes in there, which can be exploited, like we did in the first. Jordan Love's pick 6 throw to Kirby was just a brain fart moment, right? It was just absolutely terrible. The dude, he shouldn't be throwing that ball whatsoever. So they've got vulnerabilities in there, but if you let them get in rhythm and you let them get on top of you early, they're very hard to overcome. It's impressive. On offense, the last 2 games have been very impressive, and like I say, it's just a culmination of all these young guys. Really, like they're starting to hit the mark now, and you got to admire them for that. They've built young. And they've not been afraid to do it that way, and it's paying off.
It's going to be a really interesting game with this battle in particular. I think the other side is going to be less interesting than this one. I think this is going to decide the game, and I think Josh Jacobs is the entire key. If the Lions and their run defense has been great, if the Lions' run defense can stop Josh Jacobs, I wonder what Green Bay will be able to do with this, because I think Jordan Love has not shown what you need to show consistently enough throughout a 60 minutes to say that he can put it on his back for the entire game. And I mean, he's still coming back from injury, but he shows off some impressive throws in fits and bursts. But it's really Josh Jacobs being that complementary piece, getting those hard yards and making those first downs out of nowhere. He's got one of the highest success rates at running back in the NFL for a reason.
Yeah, but again, they've got a lot of ways to get at you if they can't. Like I say, having Kraft there, having Watson there, they're using Jaden Reed all over the place at the minute. They say they're using him in the backfield now. They're using him on jet sweeps. They're hitting him downfield. He's got a lot of touchdowns recently, it feels like. I only had a couple in this Miami game, but they've unlocked his gadget versatility as well. You've just got such a varied blend of receiver, and you've got a good running. Josh Jacobs is a good receiving running back. I know he had the record of not getting touchdowns for God knows how long on receptions, but doesn't take away the fact that he can get you some good yardage out the backfield as well. So even if you do soften them up a bit with the run game, if they get it out to if they get it out to the exterior, if they get you on the sidelines, they're going to cause you issues. And if you're not disciplined downfield, they'll get you there as well. So it's kind of a fine balance you've got to work. You've got to stop the run, but you can't overcommit against it. Otherwise, they'll exploit that. And you kind of feel like that's what teams like the Dolphins, the 49ers really try to. 49ers love to come up and pressure against the run. They love to bring heat on the quarterback, and that can be exploited. And, as I say, we've seen the Packers in recent years do it to us. Like, we always struggled to play them at Ford Field as opposed to Lambeau. Maybe they like playing indoors rather than outside, but I wouldn't be confident even if we could stop them. You've just got to be good all over the field against them. They say they've got playmakers. Reed can have a great day and win you a game. Watson can have a great day, win you a game. Kraft can have a great day, win you a game. And Love, is like I say, he's been throwing accurate. He's completing the vast majority of his passes in these last few games since we played him. And he's not really turning the ball over that much either. Like, the turnover was the big thing in the game, in our game at Lambeau. Kirby's pick six was probably what did it for us. But if he's not going to be that slapshod with the ball again, if he's not going to give us an easy gimme like that and we can't turn it over, then potentially you'll have some issues. So they have to be respected in both facets of the game. Like, we can't stop one and they just fall apart. They can win either way.
Going into the stats for the defense and special teams, defense by PFF is 17th, by EPA is 7th, and special teams, this unit by PFF, is 30th in the NFL, despite what I thought was an impressive performance last week, and more on that in just a second. Let's go through the defensive depth chart, if I can choose the right formation here. Is it going to pop up? There we go. All right, so Green Bay on defense, play a 4-3, although I'm going to give you the look in nickel 4-2-5. They start with a four-down lineman of Rashawn Gary, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, and Kingsley Enagbare. They're backed up by Lucas Van Ness, TJ Slayton, Carl Brooks, Aaron Mosby, Colby Wooden, and Brenton Cox Jr. For the two linebackers, they start with Quay Walker at the weak side and Edgar and Cooper at Mike, backed up by Eric Wilson, Isaiah McDuffie, and Tyron Hopper. The nickelback is Javon Bullard. He's backed up by Corey Ballantyne. Outside corners are Jair Alexander and Keyshawn Nixon, who is also the return extraordinaire. They're backed up by Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine, and Robert Rochelle. Safeties are Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams, who is maybe the second best duo in the NFL. They're backed up by Zane Anderson and Kitan Oladapo. Special teams unit, their punter is Daniel Whelan, kicker is Brandon McManus, long snapper Matt Orch. In terms of their stats, Kenny Clark is the leading defensive tackle. He's got 2 fumble recoveries, a sack, 23 tackles, 3 TFLs, 4 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 52.5. Rashawn Gary is the leading sack player on the edge, 1 pass defended, and 1 forced fumble, 4.5 sacks only, 34 tackles, 4 TFLs, 11 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 69.1. Linebacker Quay Walker's the leading tackler, 2 passes defended, 2.5 sacks, 89 tackles, 8 TFLs, 3 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 58.1. Leading quarterback still in terms of passes defended is Jair Alexander, despite barely playing in the last month. He's got 2 interceptions and 1 for a touchdown, 7 passes defended, a fumble recovery, only 16 tackles on the season, and a PFF grade of 75.2. And the leading safety is Xavier McKinney. 7 interceptions, 9 passes defended, and a fumble recovery, a sack, 63 tackles, 2 TFLs, a quarterback hit, and a PFF grade of 89.6. Other good players in here in terms of grading. Safety Evan Williams, I said it was a good safety duo, 75.5. And the linebacker Eric Wilson, 74.6. Other poor grades in there, cornerback Eric Stokes with a 52.8. Edge player Lucas Van Ness, 49.7. And nose tackle TJ Slayton, 44.9. This defense is 12th on 3rd down, 16th on 4th down, and 20th in the red zone. So much like the high leverage plays on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, they are, again, distinctly in the middle of the pack there. And this team is just so weird to me on defense, because if you look at the players individually, it's stacked full of talent. It's massive, and they have really good depth. You know, you've got former first-round pick Eric Stokes as a backup. You've got former first-round pick Lucas Van Ness as a backup, where he's been his entire college and pro career. They've got TJ Slayton, who's a very capable nose tackle. They've got Kitan Oladapo at safety, who we loved in the draft process. They've got players all over the place and good depth. And yet, when it comes to it, they haven't had Alexander for a good portion of the season. And yeah, McKinney and Williams have been doing really well back at their safety positions. But they've got no player with 5 sacks plus on the season. Kenny Clark has kind of just not been himself so far this year. Quay Walker has been himself, but that isn't a good thing for them, although he's woken up in the last couple of games. It's a front 7, which I think is maybe open for exploitation with a really strong back 4, but maybe Keyshawn Nixon you can kind of take advantage of as well. I mean, last year we were talking about Keyshawn Nixon as basically a core special teams player who was one of the best returners in the league, and suddenly he's a starting cornerback in this league. It's a weird defense.
So what's the name of this show?
Reading and Keys.
And what's their linebacker called?
Key Walker.
You've been saying Quay this entire time. If you're going to get me with bad puns, at least show some consistency. That just shows you've done it deliberately, provocatively, to try and annoy me.
I'm just a provocateur. What can I say?
Agent provocateur. Oh god. Agent provocateur. Yeah, this defense is on. I'll just start by saying straight away that, like, it's like the Bears. For years, we've known the Bears for their defensive line. That's been the thing that's terrified us and has absolutely battered us into submission. It's kind of been the same with the Packers. You think of how the good edge rushers they've had. You know, Kenny's been one of the best nose tackles in football for so damn long now. Like, they've always killed us trench warfare-wise. Now, their trenches don't look so good. You know, they have failed to find a partner, really, for Kenny in the middle over his time. He's carried that interior for so long now that he's due a down year. But he's still an absolutely wonderful player. But as you said, a lot of these investments they've made, Enik Barre, Van Ness, just not quite come to fruition yet. Rashawn Gary looks better, which is concerning, because coming into the first game, we were kind of saying Rashawn Gary was having a little bit of an off year for him. But he really seems to have stepped his game up. He's got multiple sacks in the game since he's played us. So that's a concern, especially as Taylor Decker's not going to be playing. Now, I believe he doesn't play on the same side, but still, if he wants to have a little gander and have a go at Dan Skipper, then, you know, we could face a few issues there. But that's where this team struggles more. It's defensive line. It's not as good as it has been in recent years. And it's not for want of not investing in it. It's their investments have not paid off yet. Like, Van Ness shows off really great plays. Like, he'd have a highlight reel, unlike Trey Flowers, but he's got a highlight reel, but he's not got a, you know, consistency reel where you see it all the time. You see some, like, he loves making plays against the Bears and their mobile quarterbacks. You see some great plays, you're like, oh my God, that is a hell of a player there. But then He just doesn't show it all the time. And that's what he was in college. He was a flash player. He was a flash splash player. Enigbari has not worked just yet, but that's where all this comes down to. They've got a wonderful secondary. Like the job they've done, Evan Williams was an undrafted free agent, and he looks absolutely tremendous this year. Xavier McKinney, they've rescued from New York, who looks reborn. You know, the secondary is really good. The coaching there is superb, and they can take the ball away. And I believe that's how they beat us at Ford Field last year. Did Goff turn it over 3 times last year, I want to say?
Something
In
like
one
that.
of them, they made life uncomfy for us. Like, he didn't necessarily pressure him as much, but every time he threw something that was a little errant, they gobbled it up. So you've just got to be careful with that. But if you can run the ball on them as we did, you can nullify their better aspects of their defense. It's not like the offense where it's fully rounded and you can nub one bit out and the other bit will still bite you. This is if you can take that secondary out the equation here, then your odds of winning skyrocket because they can't stop you running the football. You can kill the time of possession, and you don't turn the ball over. So, it's. I would say it's the worst part of this team from a neutral observer outside. I know that again they've kept teams down in recent games, but when you get in front, like say they get in the lead quick, it gives the defense everything it needs, really, right? Because teams start to panic, they start to have to push the ball downfield a little bit more. That's when mistakes are made, and that's when you've got a load of ball hawks in your secondary, you start turning the ball over, you can start making plays, and you're playing to their hands. So if you can get them behind and you can play your brand of football under no pressure, then I don't really think there's a lot they can offer at you. But
This is not a team that plays from behind. For
no,
me, they have
no,
to play from
they
in
didn't.
front.
They didn't play well from behind against us. Again, they didn't really feel too much in danger, even when they got the score in the fourth quarter. Um, and we've got to be better. Like I saw the first and fourth quarter points differentials for us seem to go down a bit now. I believe the first quarter is just because we drive for so long. There was literally one game where both teams had one drive each in the first quarter. It's very hard to score points when you've got one drive in a quarter. But in fact, you know what? That might have been the last Packers game, if I remember rightly. We only had one drive each in the first quarter.
I believe you're right.
Because
Yes.
they drove forever and got a field goal, and then we drove till the end of the quarter and then got a touchdown right at the start of the second quarter, I feel like it was. But yeah, so again, we've shown how to nullify this defense. We can put together a lot of long sustained drives, and you take their main guys out of it. You can nullify Rashawn Gary by running the ball well, take away his pass rush ability as well. You nullify him in the secondary. There's a lot of meat in the bones to go for on that defense. So, I like our matchup here because our offense is entirely healthy, minus Decker, but we've shown that we can get by without him. So, I do fancy our chances on this one a lot because just again, it's personnel based. We're basically fully healthy and we are on a tear right now.
Dan Skipper is really the key, isn't he? Like he's got to have a good game at the left tackle position. He's had a few more days to kind of acclimatise to what he's got to do, but he's going to be going up against some really good players, whether it's Enigbare or Van Ness or Rashawn Gary. It's going to be a challenge.
It's reps. Like you can't supplement game reps. Like he's been here for years and he's got all the training in the world under him, but that doesn't substitute for reps. And it's the more reps you play, the better you get, the more in sync you get, the easier you feel. It doesn't help that Graham's not had the best season next to him, but we can get by. And again, Ben's digging into the bag of tricks so much at the minute that it helps. I like that we've been so inventive with the play calling now because it takes the pressure off the offensive line if the defense just has to stay back a yard because they don't know what's coming. So, first thing in the Bears game, we're trying to get Penei Sewell to throw a pass and stuff like that. It makes the defense think twice about what they're doing with you. So, yeah, he looks like he's getting comfy. We just need him to be even below average, like average That's all he needs to be, and we'll be absolutely fine.
Mm.
And we've got a massive man mountain to run behind on the right-hand side as well, so you can't stop him no matter how much you try.
No. Right. Observations about defense and special teams for the Miami game. This team is very aggressive getting upfield. They love to rush, and they will do it very, very quickly if they can. Nice counter running back screen by Miami to start with A-Chain, which works really well. I actually expect to see the screen game for the Lions come out quite a bit. The Packers linebackers are quick to the ball, so you need to have a good blocker in place for it. But Miami used that screen game to good effect, especially in the second half, and it took some of the really just aggressive nature of the Packers out of the game a little bit. There was a big sack early on in this game, which was actually nullified by a defensive offside on Rashawn Gary. So the number of sacks could have even been higher than it was in this game. They had 5, so all told in the game. Again, just getting upfield very quickly, putting pressure on the quarterback. They're very instinctive when it comes to east-west run plays behind the line, sweeps, tosses. They managed to float the ball very well. Nice effort sack by Van Ness. And then Enigbare had the beating of Armstead off the ball for the sack. I mean, Armstead didn't look fit, and Enigbare really took advantage in this game. Nixon fell behind in coverage against one of their wide receivers, but was not punished because the throw was not good enough by Tua. And then again, Achan had a really good day. Generally, I mean, when he was running routes as a receiver, especially against zone coverage, he was finding the holes in those zones and sitting in it. And it was giving the Packers defense a lot of trouble. And actually, this was a theme throughout the game, especially against Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith really took them for fools all the way through. He finished this game with 10 receptions on 11 targets for 113 yards. It felt like every other ball was going his way. Man, I wish Sam Laporta was in the Sam Laporta former last year, because I think this would be a really great game for him to do some damage. Isaiah McDuffie, the linebacker, almost forced an interception against Tyreek Hill early in the second half. Hill caught a ball out in front of him, and he almost snatched it away. It was a really impressive kind of gritty sort of play. But then defense kind of struggled for interior pressure. That they bring that line so aggressively, but Clark and Slayton or Devontae Wyatt kind of struggled up front a little bit to kind of get any pull. If they were getting anything, it was coming from the edges. Vicious goal line defense from the 1. So Miami had 2nd and goal from the 1, and they were stopped on 2nd and goal from the 1, 3rd and goal from the 1, and 4th and goal from the 1. Run on run, pass, and play action. They were brilliant. Good coverage, aggressive line, didn't give Tua much time to throw. And then in passing situations late, Clark gets the sack after Walker comes on the A-gap blitz. So when you get those two guys running through there, it's going to be really tough for a running back to pick that up, especially if you go empty and then you don't have a running back to kind of deal with that. On special teams, Nixon had a big return on the opening kickoff. They also then, of course, had a 3-and-out, but they managed to get the muffed pump recovery by Miami back. So they started the Miami 9 for that drive. There was a neutral zone infraction on the field goal attempt for Miami, which allowed Miami to go for a 4th down, which they converted. So, they can be over-aggressive at times on their special teams, which actually trips them up, because instead of taking the 3 points, they potentially gave Miami 7. It didn't come to fruition, as Miami then ended up kicking a field goal in the same drive, but there we go. They seem to kick a lot of kickoffs short, forcing a lot of returns, and actually, for a very low-ranked special teams unit generally, they seem to be pretty good in kickoff coverage. And of course, with our starting returner down in Ray, in fact, he's a punt returner, but our kick returners aren't especially dynamic. Dorsey has broken a couple big, but he's not a consistent guy who breaks them big. And there's not really much else to write home about. I don't think Isaiah Williams is no longer on the team. There's a couple of other bits and pieces there, but they force a lot of kickoff returns. There'll be a chance for the Lions there, but expect maybe the Lions to start behind the 30 more often than not. And any thoughts about how their defense or special teams played against Miami? Because, of course, that punt muff to start the game really set them up so well. And they got 5 sacks in this game. But I don't know, when Miami started coming back in the second half, it felt like all the momentum was with them. And then that goal line stand at the 1 kind of cemented the game for them.
Yeah, the thing is, Miami had to play completely one-dimensional. Like there's something that really stands out with the Packers and how it comes to it. So when they played against us, Jameer Gibbs was running at 6 yards per carry. David Montgomery had 4.5, which between the two of them, great. The Bears, who probably should have beaten them, Swift was running over 5, Caleb Williams nearly 8 per carry. And then you get to the 2 wins they've just had against the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, 2.8 yards per carry. Jordan Mason, 2.7. And then against Miami, Raheem Mostert gets 19 yards on 5 carries. Devon Achane, 14 yards on 7 carries. What they doing to win these games? They're just completely stopping the run game. They're getting ahead and they're making these teams one-dimensional. And even if you give up a load of garbage yards, all you need to do is make 1 or 2 stands in a game where a team is throwing a load of air yards on you and they just become empty stats. Like, Tua threw for 400 yards, pretty much. He threw nearly 50 times. That's not healthy. And, it's a lot of that comes in the second half when they're chasing and they're behind. So again, the Packers get you in the situation they want, and then they're able to deal with it. It's bend, but not specifically break, or at least take enough time off the clock that you're not able to mount a comeback in this one. And they start well. They're second in the entire NFL for points given up in the first quarter. It's hard to score on them early in games. That's their modus operandi here. You stop the run early, just long enough to get a lead to force a team to have to give it up. And then they just go ahead and they lay the claws in on them. The teams who are able to keep running it well stay in games and are able to beat them. And, that's our speciality. And we've got 2 running backs. If one doesn't work, the other will. And, this team has shown more than enough that we'll ride the hot hand on a day with any guy given who's doing well against them. So for me, it is very easy with their defense. You just got to crack that nut open through the middle and the rest follows. If they're able to hold up enough at the start, they win. But it's very one-dimensional. They can't win, like you said. They can't win from behind. The defense can't keep them in games when they're behind. Enough to give the offense a chance to win. And it's the case they saw against us. They weren't able to keep us close enough for them to be able to get at it. So there's just very clear signs here about what you do to this defense to beat them, and there's very little in the way of maneuverability with them. So I like the matchup. I think it's really good for us. I think you're able to to put them to bed early, run the ball well on them, take away every strong aspect of that defense, and they just become very, very average.
Yeah. Okay, so all of that being said, what do you think is actually going to happen in this game? What's your score prediction for it all?
See, this just, it's tough, right? Like, as much as I hate the Bears passionately, they always play us hard, and it's never an easy game. And I do feel like the same as with the Packers. The rule of thumb is that we go to Lambeau and smack them around, but we get them on our patch, and they are a different animal for some reason. They play as well at Ford Field. Because generally what they can do, they drive long to start games and take the crowd out of it, which allows Jordan Love a bit more freedom to play. And our injuries are just so substantial at this moment in time, especially on the defense. Like the guys are tired. The guys they're running out of steam, and it's only natural. Like Aleem and DJ have had to play a lot of football on that interior, and ideally you wouldn't want them to play as much as they do. The guys on the edge are having to play a ton. The corners are so. I just don't know. They're in good form at the minute. The offense is playing well. I think they're going to give us trouble defensively. Not because I think our defense is bad. I just think this is grueling. We need this 10 days off after this just to allow them to rest properly. Because again, it's a long time since the bye. This is the culminate. This will be one of the worst yet in terms of how much of a toll it's going to take on them. So for that alone, I think they're going to play us really close. It's all about, can the offense do it for a full game? They didn't against the Bears. For me, we're going to win because I want to, we're going to shut those loud mouths up. McKinney's still mouthing off. Tucker Craft's mouthing off. They're talking about dirty players when, what Key Walker did the other year. It's like, you hypocrites. Like, he's dirty as you want to come with them, but this feels like a cardiac cat thing. I think we're going to like walk them off with a field goal right at the end. We come up with a clutch drive to do it. I think it would be along the lines of like 31-29, something like that. I just think we're going to give up some points given that all the new personnel who's coming in, how they're playing. But I think we're going to put up points on them. I think it's going to be very tough, very gritty. It's going to be an NFC North game. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be very gritty. Like, there's not been that many blowouts, has there, in the NFC North games this year? If I think off the top of my head, I don't think anyone's truly pasted somebody else. I mean, probably our victory over the Packers was the biggest. But they're going to play us very close, and I'm expecting an incredibly tough game. But we're mentally stronger than everybody else. We're physically tougher than anybody else. And if any team can overcome this, it's us.
The Lions injury report is now out for Tuesday. No practice for Decker, Levi, Pascal or Reader still. Carlton Davis has been upgraded to full practice for Tuesday and Emmanuel Mosley is full practice for the second straight days. So the cornerbacks are trending towards playing, but the rest of the guys are trending out of this game. So we shall see what happens tomorrow. I think exactly the same lines as you. I think it's going to be a game that kind of ebbs and flows. I think the lead's going to change multiple times. I can see it also being a walk-off field goal. Just to be different, I'm going to go 28-27 Lions. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the Packers win this game either. Because, like you say, it's an attritional game. It's an NFC North game. They play us harder here than they do at home, which is weird. And we're so banged up. Like, all of those injuries in the trenches for the Lions, and obviously like Wingo going out now and other players being done for the year, Malcolm being out for the year. It's just all trending in the wrong direction injury-wise, and it's going to be hard for the Lions, I think. But, the offense is entirely healthy, so like you said, can the Lions offense do it for 60 minutes? Because it feels like in years gone by, even though the defense is so highly ranked, how long can they keep up this standard of play? Like, if we put in another 1 or 2 games together, Aaron Glenn has to have a shout, or has to be the shoo-in for Assistant Coach of the Year because of how well they're playing above their station. Not only are they way ahead of where they were last year, but frankly, the personnel is probably just as bad as it was last year now.
Yeah, I think it may sound cliche, but I think whoever wins time of possession wins. If we can't win time of possession and our defense is out there more than half an hour, that's going to make it incredibly difficult because they are going to be tired. If we can put together, let's not go through the game where we have a stretch where we have like 2 3 and outs or 3 short drives or something like that. As long as you can have 1 long drive every 3 drives or something like that, just to keep the defense fresh, then you give yourself a chance in this one. Like, ideally, you spend 8 minutes on the first drive, get a touchdown, get yourself in front, get a quick 3 and out, score again, put a buffer between yourself, and that way you can sort of play it a little bit. Like, Packers always seem to have got the best of us at home with that recently. They get in front. Like, the Bears did it to us at home last year. They got in front, and we struggled to play from behind because the defense just got too much asked of it. So, but I think it'll be a really good game.
I think it'll be a good game too.
And it's going to be interesting to see because for me, this game's huge. Like, that we have no room. We need the 1 seed. This is not, a fallacy or anything. This has not been hyperbolic or anything. We need a week of rest. We need that break, especially, like, even if we've got guys coming back, Kaminsky back just before the playoffs, Anzalone back before the playoffs, they're not going to be 100%. We need a break. And the team, those of it who make it to the postseason healthy or unscathed through the season, need a break. And it's the Bills next. You lose this, there's a very realistic chance you could lose the Bills game 2 in a row. We could be behind the Vikings and the Packers. come the end of that, stupidly enough, which is how it plays. So, you've got to tough this one out. I know it's easy to say, let's rest everybody for the Bills, but there's no given things in this game. If these guys are even have a semblance of been ready to go, even if they've not practiced much, you send them out there because this game has massive ramifications. If we can get them off, so we beat them twice, like you said, they can't win the NFC North, short of a miracle. That's one monkey off our back. And like we need to be putting these teams to bed and putting as little pressure on us as possible. So for me, this game is absolutely humongous, and you've got to throw everything you have at it, everything and everybody. Don't try and rest guys for this 10 days because us at full health could lose to the Bills. And I don't really want that. And
No.
then if you losing becomes a habit, the yips set in, nerves set in, and we've seen what it does in the past here. We've got to keep this momentum going. More importantly, we've got to demoralize all the teams behind us. Vikings keep finding fluky ways to win. Eventually, they're going to get found out for the frauds that they are. But if they're able to get in front of us, then by hook or by crook, they might just have enough luck to get there. And I really don't want to go through the wild card this year. I really don't.
Yeah, you need to get that bye. And people have said before, oh, I want to keep the momentum up. You want to play because you want to win to keep everything going. How often have you heard it said in the regular season that enter name of well-run team here is 17-1 out of the bye since 2010 or something? Like, good teams use the bye to game plan really well and get healthy to batter their next opponent. It happens. The bye is massively important for the win percentage of the game after, but also you remove the risk of actually losing the wild card if you don't fucking play it, and the fact that you can get healthy too. I mean, do you want to have to win 3 games or 4 to win the title, to win it all? I'd take 3, thanks. And also, as the 1 seed, it runs all the way through Detroit, and you play the lowest seed in the divisional round, which can only help. So,
yeah, and especially as again, you'll have spent 3 months playing non-stop, 3 months of non-stop football, and you've got to go another month, and people will start to break down by the time of the Super Bowl, and you've just got to be. And I know people say it can be unlucky. I think it depends on your situation. If you were fully healthy, I would rather be fully healthy and play the wild card than be beaten up and get the bye.
I agree.
Because I do like playing the game. I do, having a week off can work counterintuitively, but when you're so battered as a team, and you will have a lot of guys coming back around that time as well, potentially, sometimes you just do need that rest and recuperation period to reintegrate everybody in properly. So, our situation this year, it's better to have the bye than do it the hard way through the wild card.
All right, we have one question.
I don't know, but
yeah,
I feel like the NFC 7 is going to be weak. I feel like there's 3 good teams at the top, and then that's it. I feel like it will be a good run for us.
We have one question from the chat before I move on to the rest of the weekend's games and we do our pick watch. Adam Gilchrist, our resident Green Bay Packers fan in the chat, asks, who do you think are more of a threat in the NFC North? Or just generally, the Packers or the Vikings?
I mean, how much do you put the power of luck into it? I think...
My answer is without hesitation. So I'm letting you think about it because I know my answer.
See, the thing is, for all the bluster and vitriol of the Vikings fans going, oh, well, we're looking our way through with a backup quarterback and we're only 1 win behind you. Kevin O'Connell is doing a remarkable job. He is doing a remarkable job with what is at his disposal. And we know, more than anybody, I don't want to play the team that's defying expectations with a chip on its shoulder that's been written off because, hand up, I said they were going to finish miles bottom of the NFC North this year. And I wasn't on my own in that assertion either. So they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, they're winning games, and they're playing tough. So, for me, that kind of momentum. If they were to lose a couple now, I would change my answer. But right now, the way they're playing, the groove they're in, I think the Vikings would shade it. And that's not a knock at the Packers. Like, it's just I've seen the way our team's been built and the way we've built up our winning mentality and our winning culture. We've done it against all odds. Sam Darnold is Jared Goff at this point. He is trying to rebuild his career, having been written off. You have a coach who is doing a tremendous job with what is at his disposal. And yes, they're getting lucky, but they're still winning. And, winning is winning. Doesn't matter how you do it. At the Packers game against the Bears, they still won. Big special teams play to win the game. So I have the Vikings narrowly ahead of the Packers, but it's not a knock on the Packers.
Fair enough.
Like, don't take it as that.
Oh, the Vikings have definitely surprised me, and the coaching job they're doing there is amazing. The coaching at all three of the top NFC North teams is such that the Bears might be in their hole for a long time, because even if the Bears draft well, who are you getting coaching that team? Like, I just don't see a way and a route for them to be good. Even though I think Caleb is starting to look good. Like, there's hope for the Bears, but they're just down there. For me,
they've built inwards, they've built outside in as well. The Packers have built through the draft. The Packers are set for years to come at a lot of positions.
Yeah, they are.
The Vikings are set. They've got their quarterback of the future as well, and hell, they might.
Well, if he doesn't have to medically retire.
Oh, JJ.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hypothetical here. If Darnold takes them to playoff wins and gets them up to, theoretically...
You're saying he's a better Vikings quarterback than Kirk Cousins? No, I don't believe it.
Kirk Cousins is a fraud. Kirk Cousins has always been overrated in his career, and I hate the haters. I mean, where do they get to this season where the point's going to say, do we keep Sam Darnold over JJ? There has to be, but you can't just write him off.
Well, I don't think you can go into next season as the Vikings thinking JJ's just going to come in and win the job. One, he hasn't been fit for basically the entire season. And not only that, he's had to have 2 surgeries on his knee. Like, that's not a good thing.
But for team culture as well, like Dan has, you can't let Sam have such a great season like he's had and then just say, there's the door. You've got to I think that undermines the team philosophy. I think that will be...
I agree. Look how bad the Browns have been when they let Joe Flacco go. And I say that without irony. Like, Joe Flacco was the much better quarterback last year over Deshaun Watson. They let him go. And look at where they went with Deshaun Watson. And then James has come in. They've looked like a team again. So, I completely agree about culture. But my answer is, without doubt, the Green Bay Packers are a much bigger threat than the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are, at the moment, a bigger threat only because they are 1 win closer than the Packers are. But the last time the Vikings were in this position where they were outperforming their team overall as compared to where they actually should be, and their luck and whatever, that works in the regular season. You get down to the playoffs, that's when you lose a divisional round matchup, or a wildcard matchup, against the New York Giants. Like, I'm sorry, but with a team like the Vikings, I think you've kind of got to just write off the regular season and say, show me it in January, because I don't believe in you. Whereas with the Packers...
I will revert back to the Kirk Cousins argument and say people overrated them with Kirk Cousins. People always thought they were better than they actually were. I think with Darnold, they're underrated now. I think that's the difference here. I think that's the difference here. Kirk is and has never been an elite quarterback. He's never been a quarterback who I think can take you to a Super Bowl. I just think he's a regular season stat warrior who had that one good game. No, he didn't even have a good game because he wasn't there for the miracle. I think they're a different beast now. Yeah. I mean, who would you pick if they played each other in the playoffs, the Packers and the Vikings right now?
Neutral field?
Yeah, neutral field.
Packers.
Who'd win?
Packers, unquestionably. Better defense overall, I think, just about. I also prefer the trio of wide receivers, if all fit, of Green Bay versus having... So I like, the 4 pass catchers, including tight ends, I prefer of the Packers than the 3 of the Vikings. And I think that's close. I also just think that Love is a much better quarterback than Darnold. I know you're saying that they're now underrated because of him, but it's only because he was terrifically bad in the middle of the season. I think he's brought it back a little bit, but...
I'm just wound up that they're both doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, the Bills have clinched with a worse record than us.
Yeah.
And here we are still having to bust our asses. I would love to have the last month of the season where we've clinched and we can afford to drop a couple.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and blooming Kansas City Chiefs have clinched. And that's notwithstanding the fact that the Chargers have had a really good season. And I thought the Chargers and the Packers, or Chargers and Vikings, would have similar seasons. And yet they've all been really good. But the Chiefs have clinched anyway.
I mean, the only good thing from my point of view is I think them being so close keeps us motivated. Like, we can't drop off. We cannot afford to take a single second off, or they're going to pounce. So, for that reason, I do like it. But I think at this point, as the injuries start to mount, I would like to start building a cushion over them now. Just give me that Week 18 game where we can sit everybody and chill.
Right, let's get into the rest of the weekend slate so that we can make our picks and then get out of here, because it's going to be a late one on Thursday and we've got college football show tomorrow as well.
Before we quickly do, I mean, who looked silly about the Panthers and the Chiefs the other week? I think that was the last time I was hearing you go, no way the Panthers are going to beat the Chiefs. I was close. I bet you were sweating that one a little bit.
I wasn't sweating it. I was absolutely delighted. I believed in Bryce Young almost as much as you did. And I'm just delighted that he looks good. Like,
I'm so happy for him.
It's getting to the point where the Panthers shouldn't be thinking about a quarterback in this draft. And they benched him this year.
I think Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield will have done a lot for these guys. Don't give up on them. He's halfway through his sophomore season. He ain't going to be Peyton Manning. People just get spoiled by the ones who develop early, which are few and far between. Like, you've got to give them time. But man, I was tragic for him the other day. Like, he said all 4 of his career wins, he's led them from behind in the fourth quarter. Like, that's the situation he's in. If he wants to win games, it's on him. It's not like he's gotten to a comfy lead and strolled games out. The dude has to be clutch all the time. And to have 4 fourth quarter winning drives already is pretty impressive. A lot of rooks have that at this point in their career. Nearly 5. Lucky bastards the Bucks are.
Right, rest of the weekend slate. We've just talked about Thursday Night Football, which is Packers at Lions. I have Lions win, Packers cover 3.5, and you're the same, I think. Then, therefore, if you're picking a 2-point win, it's a 3.5-point spread. So
I've not got them covering.
Yeah,
I had them winning by 2.
Yeah, so Lions win, Packers cover. You've got.
Oh yeah.
So the next game up is the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins in a divisional matchup. The Dolphins are favoured by 6 at home. What do you think?
I feel like that's a bit generous to Miami, that is. That's potentially a sickos game, that is. Where's Breece Hall? He's on my fantasy bench at the moment because I got fed up of him. So if I leave him there, the Jets will win. I'm doing this by fantasy now because my players will screw me no matter what I do. I fancy a little bit of a Jets upset there. I don't think the Dolphins are all that at the minute, and their run game's not very good.
What?
I think the Jets
really
against the Packers, it was atrocious. Couldn't run the ball to save their lives.
Yeah.
They're running at like 2.4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Jets. The one thing the Jets generally do all right is they do bring a lot of pressure and they're decent. So I've got the Jets to win anyhow.
All right, I got Miami to win and cover 6. I just think Tua is going to rip that Jets defense a new one. To be honest, I think Waddle's going to have a massive day. Just going to say it now and speaking it into existence. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favoured at home by 5.5 points. What do you think?
See, I'm fed up of saying the Falcons are that good that they're going to have a surprise win every now and then. I've done this 3 or 4 times now. I've said, the Falcons have got a terrible record, but they're that good that they could go and win this team. Let's try and put the reverse hex on the Vikings. Vikings win and cover because Kirk Cousins is an utter fraud.
I have got a Vikings win, but the Falcons covering 5.5. I think that's just a rich spread. The Falcons, I mean, Kirk Cousins threw 4 picks in one of the most ugly games I've ever seen last week, but They run the ball too well. Bijan had over 100 rushing yards in that game. I think that the Vikings are going to struggle to control the ball long enough to make it a 2-possession game. So Vikings unfortunately win to stay 1 game behind us, but Falcons cover. Next up is the Saints at the Giants in a proper shit-off. The Saints are favoured by 5 points on the road in New York. Well, I'd say New York. We all know it's no New Jersey, really. What do you think?
Oh, God, I wouldn't watch this if you paid me. Well, Taysom Hill's done now. And that's basically a big chink taken out of their offense. Like he's the offense maker there. So I'll go Giants win 1 for a rarity because I just think the Saints are absolutely atrocious. And yeah, without Taysom, like Taysom's been really good recently. They're taking the informed player out of that offense, which is unfortunate for him. So yeah, I got Giants winning.
It's hard to pick against the best Italian that America has produced since Rocky Balboa, but
Ooh, Drew Lock.
Oh yeah, he's the quarterback. Shit, I forgot about that. Oh man, they haven't even got the power of the Italian. Okay, so my one take on this is Dexter Lawrence is done for the year. Saints winning cover.
Yeah, but they do have some good other edge players on that team.
Who?
Kayvon. I know, Kayvon's good.
Don't say Ojolari because he's done for the year too.
Oh, I thought he got concussed. I thought he had a concussion.
Okay.
I thought he was in concussion protocol. I could be wrong. Might be another one of their guys, but
he's been put on injured reserve and he's going to miss 4 games and they've only got 6 games left, so he might be done. They claimed Greg Dulcich off waivers, so maybe all is fine.
Not for their defensive line.
No, maybe not.
On the D-line.
Saints winning cover for me then. Next up is the Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles in a battle of 2 relatively informed teams. Even given the Panthers' losses, it's quite amusing. The line here is going to be really interesting. The Eagles are favoured by 12.5 at home. That feels rich, but they are blowing everyone away. And the Panthers, despite being very competitive against even some of the best teams, are consistently losing. So I'm struggling here, mate. What do you think?
Like college pick watch me would go with the underdog and just say the hell with it. But I do believe the Eagles are good right now. They're a different kettle of fish to the Bucs. They'll run the ball well, which the Bucs are not able to do. And they've got good pressure coming off that defensive line. It's in form at the minute. It does feel like this will be the one where the Panthers do get their trousers pulled down a little bit. So I actually would have the Eagles winning and covering this. Just as long as Bryce looks decent, I don't mind. But I just don't think they'll be able to keep up with the firepower Philly have.
I'm going to go for a Philly win, which I don't think is going to surprise anyone, but I am going to have the Panthers covering 12.5. I just think it's rich. And the Eagles, I know they're blowing people away, but I can't help but shake the feeling that there's a soft underbelly there waiting to kind of come out. They're relying on some big plays by some rotational players, and is that going to be kept up? I'm not sure. But the way that they've invested in their offensive line, Caroline, I kind of believe that Bryce is going to be able to do a bit here. Adam Thielen game, let's go.
I hope so. I mean, Christ, that catch he made in the last one was that one-hander he did on that clutch drive. I mean, I would struggle to think of many catches I've seen better than that, period. Like, it was coming at him at speed, and it didn't move in his hand whatsoever. It was perfect. Absolutely. That was the Thielen of old, that was.
He's come back in a really good way when he came off IR. He's looked like the player they wanted Deontay Johnson to be for Bryce, that emergency valve, that, he's not a number 1, but he's such a good number 2 that he just gets it done. He's back to his old Vikings form. It's great. Now that he's not in division. Next up is the Browns at the Steelers. And this line is perhaps not quite as generous as the last one. Steelers are only favoured by 6.5 at home against a team that I think is on the verge of elimination from the playoffs. I think if the Browns lose this, they're done. And what do you think? Because you've been riding the Russell Wilson train all year.
I mean, yes. Take a guess at what I'm going to say here.
Well, I think you'll probably choose the Pittsburgh Steelers, but do you think the line is generous?
The Browns are playing better under Jameis Winston.
There's no
doubt. They look like a competent football team now. So I think it'll be tough. And again, these AFC North matchups always, I feel like there's tons of shocks in these. Like, the Ravens can never win in Pittsburgh. No matter how bad the Steelers are, the Ravens can never win there. Like, the Bengals can be good. Like, this is a team that this is a division that takes chunks out of one another. I don't think there's any easy fixtures in it whatsoever. So I feel like it's always going to be competitive. I would fancy the Steelers to win this. I would say, no, maybe they won't cover. I feel like this is going to be a low one-score game, like a really, cat and mouse affair. Because as much as I love the Steelers, I do think their record is maybe a little bit generous. Maybe a little. Just a smidge. But I think they're going to start getting the yips as they get a little bit closer and they're playing well. And, they could get seeded high in the AFC. Like really high at this moment in time. So I think there's just going to be a little bit of pressure on them. And this is an AFC North game. And that just does something funny to you. Look at us against the Bears. Like, does funny things. Would not surprise me if it was something similar to like the Steelers go up by a few scores. The Browns roll their way back into it and the Steelers kind of almost look themselves into a win out the back of it. But I still fancy them to win. They are a better team than a lot of people give them credit for.
I'm going to probably go similarly to you. I think Steelers win, but Browns cover. It's just going to be a gritty game. I don't know. Did Pittsburgh play outside? Pittsburgh play outside, right?
Yeah, Heinz Field, outside.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's going to be snowy or not, but both teams are fairly good on defense. Both sides run the ball pretty well, but actually running the ball wise, I maybe slightly prefer the Browns, which I just think makes the game a little bit closer. I know Chubb hasn't really been himself yet, but...
And the Browns have beaten them this year? I think this is their second. I'm pretty sure the Browns beat them in Cleveland.
Yeah, so I think you're right.
They're one of the few teams to get a dub on them this year. So they know how to beat them. Just doesn't feel like anything's easy being a Pittsburgh fan. Like, they always have to do it the hard way. No such thing as the easy way anymore.
Next game is the Raiders, who played the Chiefs very close last week, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who look like they are marching towards an NFC South title after looking dead and buried at one point. The Tampa Bay Bucks are favoured by 6.5 at home. What do you think?
The Bucks should win. Though I do feel like this is the one game where if there was to be a complete surprise result, this is where it would be. Because Aiden O'Connell was slinging darts the other day for the Raiders.
Looked really good.
This Raiders team, again, I know it's in conference, so maybe they're playing...
It wasn't against the Chiefs. Who the hell did the Raiders play last week? Was it the Chiefs? 1917? Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Because they completely fucked up the snap at the end. They should have beaten the Chiefs. They botched that. The center botched the snap at the end, and they gave it back to them.
Yeah. Just some breaking news, by the way. The Lions have had a player poached from their practice squads. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have re-signed Kayvon Merriweather to their 53. He is off the Lions practice squad and back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sorry, Anne.
Yeah, Bucks win, but if there's going to be a shock this weekend and a surprise result, this is where it'll be. Because I feel like the Bucks are inconsistent this year. Injuries have made them inconsistent, unfortunately. So
I'm going to go Bucks by 20. Just think this has got blowout written all over it. I think after you lose a heartbreaker against the defending champs, I think the arse just falls out you a little bit, especially away from home. So, yeah. Anyway, Tampa to win, Tampa to cover. Next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Titans favored by 3.5 at home in a battle of basically eliminated teams in the AFC South. What do you think?
Is Trevor out of concussion protocol?
I do not believe so.
So this is going to be Mac Jones versus Will Levis. Oh dear. I mean, this would have been an all SEC matchup a few years ago. Kentucky versus Alabama. I don't know. Jags team feels a little deflated. I know they won the other. Well, no, they didn't win. They lost to Texas, but I just don't like the Titans at all for anything. This is one of those that could be 9-6, and it's done by field goals, and it could be anybody. Oh, mind you, it's a division matchup. Jags. Just.
I am all aboard the Jacksonville Jaguars picking number 1 overall. And not just because of that. I just think Will Levis is a better quarterback than Mac Jones right now. Tennessee have won more recently. They also are 3-9 versus 2-10. They're at home. I do think that Tennessee have been playing teams really hard. There's no quit in that team. Whereas the Jags, while they're also gritty, I just think Tennessee's there's slightly more quality in that team right now.
No, I think that Trevor hit kind of put something in the Jags.
Could light a fire under them for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty vicious.
It was horrific.
Although I will say this does ignite a bigger issue around, like, quarterbacks should be fined for fake sliding from now on. Or they should be suspended, whatever. The fake slide's got to go, because then tackles like that don't happen.
Yeah.
If they're going to slide, they're going to slide. You take that out of the game. Patrick Mahomes and and Josh Allen and all these guys have got to be penalized for doing some of the stuff they do.
Yeah.
Because what's a defender meant to do? I know it's still a dirty thing, but when they're going, you commit to it, because if you don't, you look like a bit of an idiot if they just carry on going. So.
I guess the argument against it is, if the quarterback stays up, you can hit him in the hip. If the quarterback slides, you don't have to hit him at all. So I think from the defender's perspective, when you go low and when they're sliding, you hit them in the head. If they stayed up, you'd be hitting them in the knee area, which we don't want to see happen either. So I think the argument is, the defender, if he thinks the quarterback's going to slide, just has to stay on his toes and wait to see what he does. If he fakes a slide, as long as you're not anticipating the slide, in which case you don't have to touch him for him to be down, you could hit him when he's up. Like,
you're also trying to knock the ball out his hands, so you want momentum. You want to hit him as hard as you can.
Sure, but when was the last time when sliding a quarterback fumbled the ball?
Yeah, but again, to wait until he does, like, you've got to hold back until you see it.
But this is why
this is split second. Like, this is not us. It's all right saying it in slow mo, but this is done.
Yeah. Oh,
you've got to make a decision.
Absolutely, but having played rugby, these decisions are made all the time, and you can teach them, and you can get good at them as long as there's the will to do it. But this is why I love the Jack Campbell tackle last week. Not only did I think that it was a brilliant tackle, I thought it was totally safe, in the right area, not down at the knee, but actually at the top of the thigh, which slid down because of what the quarterback did. And you know what?
Yeah.
I thought that was a picture-perfect tackle against a quarterback who did exactly the wrong thing, and it highlighted who doesn't watch football.
Caleb's an idiot.
Yeah, he is.
Like, if you're not going to run out of bounds and you're not going to slide, your fair game. And then when you're in the gun, go, I don't like that. Well, you gave yourself, you transitioned into a runner, and you did not try to protect yourself. So, man up. Like I said on Twitter this morning, it took for us to get good for me to realise how incredibly soft the NFC North is when it comes to some of this stuff.
We always used to complain about it when we weren't good about how calls were going against us. And we still do to some extent, but not like we used to. Winning kind of cures a little bit, to be honest.
It does, but at the same point, it's these teams, you've got to get tougher.
Yeah.
If you want to play again, we're going to play you hard. We're not gonna go easy on you. it's gonna hurt,
Yeah.
and that's the way it is. But that Caleb one was perfect. Like you said, perfect tackle. Didn't put him in any danger, but it also, you want to hit them, you want to leave a mark. It's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
You're trying to rough him up and make him make mistakes, and that's what the aim of the game is.
Yeah. Let him know you're there.
Yeah.
Right, next up, we are into the afternoon slate on Sunday. This one is the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals in an all NFC West matchup. I think maybe these are the two best teams in the division right now. The Cardinals are favoured at home against the Seahawks by 2.5 points. Maybe Seattle the more informed team, though, and
This could be game of the week. Like I feel like this could be two really good offenses who put up a lot of points, and on the day they're really, really good. I feel like the Seahawks in recent years, like the Cardinals have not beaten the Seahawks in forever. I think what did they say it was the other day? 2021? Like the Seahawks have just had the Cardinals number for so long now. It's, like us with the Cardinals, they can't beat us. So I'm fancying the Cardinals break this streak now. I've seen a little that I like in them this year. I think they're playing well. It's at Arizona as well. So I'd expect the home field advantage just to give them that little bit of an edge. But the 7-8 game win streak or whatever it is now for Seattle is coming to an end.
I don't think they have that many. I don't think they've won 7 or 8 in a row. Have they?
Hang on, 1,
They-
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6.
6? Wow. Okay. I'm on the Cardinals. Cardinals and Cardinals minus 2.5. I just like what the cards are, and I want to believe in them. And to be honest, I'll just take the home team in what I think is really a toss-up. And if I'm going to take the home team, I'm not going to choose for them to not cover a 2.5 spreads. That feels like a very thin route to victory for me. Next up is the Buffalo Bills at the LA Rams. Rams fighting to survive. The Bills have already clinched going west, but the Bills now are in a battle for that number 1 seed with the Kansas City Chiefs. They hold the tiebreaker, but they're a game back, so it's all to play for this Bills team, despite winning the division already. If the Rams lose this one, they could be too far behind the division leader, and frankly, there ain't a wildcard team in the NFC West, so you better win it. And what do you think?
Bills are going to absolutely banjax them. I reckon that could be 25 or 30 point margin of victory.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Bills winning cover. Next up, last one in the afternoon slate. Chicago Bears at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers favoured at home by 4. This is a hard one to call.
See, we want Thomas Brown to win games so that they don't come try poach Ben Johnson. But at the same time, I like the misery and suffering of Bears fans. There's nothing that gives me greater pleasure than going on YouTube on a Monday and watching the reaction of Bears fans as they cry to another terrible, devastating loss. Sick, I know, but it's funny. I don't know what I want here. But if you look at this matchup on paper, like the 49ers are down to their 4th string running back. Bears traditionally are hard to crack open with the run. So if they can stop them running it, they got good pass rushers to get after Brock Purdy. Actually, I do see the Bears winning this one, as much as it pains me to say. So I'm going to go Bears win because I just think the injuries have killed the 49ers and they don't match up well together. Now, obviously, the 49ers D-line is going to tee off on the Bears O-line, but dare I say Caleb's better than Brock Purdy in a situation like that? Yes, I do.
49ers are 5-7. They've lost 3 in a row, and if they lose this one, they're basically out of it. I see this game going the same way that basically every Bears game has gone for the last month and a half. Bears are competitive, probably winning with 30 seconds to go, and somehow find a way to lose. So give me a walk-off victory for San Francisco, and therefore San Francisco win, Bears cover 4 is my pick.
How can they screw themselves that they haven't yet? They'd have to get a penalty with a 10-second runoff with 9 seconds left or something like that.
Chef's kiss, no editorial notes.
That's the only way they could possibly screw themselves that they've not done it so far. Or, oh no, I know the way they could lose it. Trouble with the snap. That would be perfect.
Oh, I'm kind of thinking
The Michigan,
maybe...
you remember
Michigan State. Yeah, I was just about to say it.
There's trouble with the snap.
Oh,
I'd love that to happen to the
or a
Bears.
kick six. Wouldn't that be fun?
A kick six could be fun, yeah. Kick six could be fun.
Oh, Auburn.
Who's 49ers
Auburn.
returner? Who's the returner for the 49ers?
Debo.
He's in my fantasy team as well.
Ah, we go.
Oh.
So Auburn
Right, I'm gonna put him on the bench, and then he'll do that.
Fair
Right,
enough.
I'm gonna take one for the team at this point because my fantasy season died a long time ago.
2 games to go. First is Sunday Night Football. I think this is the game of the week. It's the LA Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 4 and in a divisional match. What do you think?
I think the Chiefs are protected by black magic, and there's no way the Chargers can win. So Chiefs win. I'm tired of waiting for the Chiefs to lose. It's an Arrowhead, probably gonna pay the refs again. Like they got some very fortuitous calls against the Raiders. It's just how it works, isn't it?
I have the Chargers winning, straight up. The Chiefs aren't a good football team. The Chargers low-key are. That's it. That's my sell. I just think the Chargers are a well-run, good football team who are playing well, and despite Herbert not firing on all cylinders, they're finding ways to win. Good defense. Lad McConkey is still a top 10 pair from last year's draft. I'm going to die on this hill.
Refs. You're forgetting the officials.
Maybe. We'll see. I think the Chargers will put it beyond doubt before the rest can have an impact.
Flag.
Maybe.
Flag.
And then we have the most disappointing Monday Night Football of all time.
Oh no, it's not this one.
It's the Cincinnati Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys. The Bengals are favored by 5.5 at Jerry World. What do you think?
I think I'm going to be sleeping rather than watching this. Why are they in prime time again?
It has to be protected because there's something that they're filming for it, which means they can't move it. Is it the Nickelodeon game or something?
It's Slime Fest or whatever they call
something
it.
Like that, yeah.
Slime time. Again, this was a month ago. You telling me that in a month you can't create graphics for a new Slime Time?
I mean, to be honest, can you think of a better game for when Slime Time is required to actually make it an entertaining game?
Ours. Then we could have had 4 days extra.
No.
Rest.
Our game is going to be entertaining without Slime Time, so you don't need it. For this game, you need a gimmick. Otherwise, no one's going to watch it.
The Giants game, then.
Fair. I'm going to go Bengals win, but Dallas cover at home. 5.5 seems like a lot. I know Dak isn't playing, but Cooper Rush is playing really well.
He is, and Rico Dowdle's doing all right as well. And I think Zach Taylor's on the verge of getting fired, and this might be the one that gets him fired. Cowboys win. Then we have to start worrying about Ben Johnson's tenure here because just,
Bengals feels like a fit more than anyone.
My magical powers out there. I feel like he would like the Bengals job. It's not far from where he's at now. You've got an established quarterback there. You have the nucleus of a pretty good team already, which should be able to go to the playoffs with a little bit of tinkering. Just the playmakers you've got there and the stuff he could do. Get you sent a good DC and you're ready to go. So, as much as I should be wanting the Bengals to win because we should want Zach Taylor to stay, but I think he's done regardless. I think they'll fire him at the end of this season, whatever happens. So, may as well just accelerate it now.
Fair. Right. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
Fuck the Packers. That seems pretty needful this week. So you know, I don't think so really. It's gonna be fun. I'm so desperate for a win again. These NFC North games mean more, and the way they're mouthing off again at the minute, I just want them to suffer.
At this point, I would actually want to win more in this game than any other point in any other games the rest of the slate. I would trade a win here for a couple of losses somewhere else just to bury them.
I probably would as well. Like, I just want this team to win and go. I want us to go into this break winners. There's nothing worse than losing a game and then having to wait. Like, we respond from losses really well, generally because, we play a week later. I don't want them to have to stew and think about a defeat for a week and a half.
Yeah.
While they're battered and bruised and trying to get better again. Like I say, if you say I've got to lose one of the next two games, I will lose to the Bills. Any day of the week, I'll lose to the Bills
Yeah.
rather than the Packers. Like, I don't care. We'll beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. Like, regular season wins mean nothing, as the Bills know very well against the Chiefs. Like, beating them in the regular season, fine. Beating them in the postseason, different kettle of fish. So,
Absolutely.
I want this one badly.
All right. Our next show is tomorrow. Tomorrow, College Football Podcast, looking back at Week 14, final week of the regular season, and looking ahead to the Conference Championship week coming up this week, which really is going to solidify the college football playoff position. So do tune into the boys tomorrow. We'll be live on Thursday night for the game itself. So join me and Ash as we do the alternative play-by-play commentary. We'll then be reviewing at the moment on Friday, although my mum's trying to get me over for a catch up and some dinner, so I might have to move that, but we shall see. At the moment, slated for Friday afternoon, so hopefully we'll see you then or at some point in the rest of the weekend. On our socials, you can find us at Rural the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and the group for worldwide fans on Facebook is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. The website where Ash's preview articles are is ruralthelionsuk.com or rotluk.com. Please don't forget to subscribe. Rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Many thanks to Anthony Fitzpatrick for doing this with me. Thank you to the live audience for being absolutely fantastic, and for you listening on the audio pod. Appreciate you all very, very much. Good luck for Thursday. Hopefully we'll see you then. But for now, still leading the NFL. Fuck the Packers. Let's go Lions, One Pride.
Fuck the Packers.
Recording stopped.